Good evening, everyone. Calling together the planning board meeting for May, rescheduled for May 2nd to May 16th this evening, 6 p.m. This meeting is being recorded in accordance with the government order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 38, section 20. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the planning board utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and send a comment or question to the chair via the question and answer function. Submitted text comments will be read into the record. For those of you joining by phone, press *9. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be on the city's webpage. All votes will be done via roll call to ensure count accuracy. As your name is called, please indicate that you are present. Larry Hassan.
Here.
Jim Sweeney.
Here.
Marty Crowell. Marty, I think you're on mute. You're just on mute, hon. The mute's down on the left-hand corner. It should be if you click that little microphone with your cursor. Well, she is present. What about Yolando? Did I say his name right? Is it Orlando or Yolando?
Yolando, you said it right. I'm
Yolando.
not sure if he's going to be able to make it today. He said he had something else, so he might not be here.
Okay. Marty, do you see the mute button down to the probably the left-hand corner of your screen? If you drag your cursor there.
I think she might be on her phone.
Or if you want to dial in with your phone and leave the computer on mute.
Marty, it might be at the top right-hand corner where it says unmute, a blue block.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone's might be a little different. Where is the Marty? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. Okay. Do you want to dial in using your phone?
Unmute ourselves. Is that a possibility? Or
Marty, try hitting *6 on the keypad.
I got it.
There you go.
I got it.
There you go. There you go. Okay. All right, Marty Crowell, present.
Present.
Okay.
Here.
All right. So tonight on the agenda, we have number one, a brief discussion of hybrid planning board meetings. Number two, a preliminary subdivision on Woodward Avenue. The applicant is Patrick Heffron, Representative J.K. Holgram. Number three, if anyone's here for 549 Copeland Street, this has been continued. Again, 549 Copeland Street has been continued. So if you're here for this, you can drop off or stay with us if you'd like. Number four, definitive subdivision, 652 North Carey Street. We have site plan approval for 157 Center Street. Site plan approval for Industrial Boulevard expansion. And site plan approval for Signature Healthcare, the hospital. And then the last one is 1315 Main Street site plan approval. Okay, I'm gonna start off with a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes.
motion to approve last month's meeting minutes.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Larry Hassan,
yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crowell,
Yes.
Tony, yes. All right. Evan, what do you have for lot releases, I believe, right?
No lot releases, just street acceptances.
Okay, take it away.
So, yep, just two street acceptances. It's Deanna Road and Dundee Road. They're in the same neighborhood. They're on the southeast side by the Davis School off of Plain Street. Again, it's pretty straightforward, straight acceptance as we always do, one for each of them.
All right, so one was Deanna Road. What was the second one? I'm sorry.
Dundee Road.
Dondi Road. All right, is there a motion for Deanna Road?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crowell,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes. Okay, is there a motion for Dondi Road?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crowley, sorry.
Yes.
Tony
Yes.
Gonzalez, yes. All right, thank you. Oh, I see them down here, Evan. My bad, I thought they were up higher. Okay, so I understand, Marty, you wanted to have a brief discussion on the hybrid planning board meetings.
I do. Maybe I could start by asking a question. Obviously you went hybrid on Zoom because of COVID, right?
Well, the whole world went Zoom pretty much. Well, not the whole
Right.
world. Most companies in the entire world went Zoom for the pandemic and learned that it's very feasible and efficient way to conduct business.
All right, and I'm in the workplace, so I went Zoom. I lead meetings of people weekly, and I did them all on Zoom for months. But the vast majority of the world's gone back to meetings in person, and I'm just not a proponent of Zoom. I mean, I work Zoom. I had trouble tonight. I don't even know why. I tried to get it on my computer and I couldn't. But I agree with you that it's an efficient way. I just don't think it makes sense to run public hearings on Zoom. You have people that are older that aren't familiar with Zoom. They don't want to raise their hand. They don't know how to raise their hand. I'm just much happy. I would just be much happy if we could go back in person. I assume that that's what was going to happen from last meeting on.
Well, I'm told that we're approved by the state to do Zoom meetings until 2025. Is that date correct, Isaiah?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Mayor, Evan, anyone, have you heard any complaints from the public?
I haven't received anything at all, one way or
Okay.
the other, really.
All right, so I know you wanted to express your feelings on it, and I'm actually in favor of the Zoom meetings. But if there's ever complaints or issues or other board members, I don't know what your feelings are.
Well, Madam Chairwoman, tell me how many people right here are from the public. I
Well,
don't see anybody.
well, you'll have to let the proceedings continue, and then you'll see how the public joins in. But first, the board takes a review of the plan. We ask our questions to the applicants, and then we open it up to public sector, and they very easily raise their hand, and Rob May moves them over as a panelist. They can be seen on screen, or they can just talk, whatever they're more comfortable doing. But we've been doing this now for 3 years, and it's been working out perfectly fine with no issues. And the site plans are pulled up on the screen for you as well.
Right.
So you will have the site plans right on your screen for you to view and ask questions when the time comes.
So nobody else has any concerns about not letting the public come to City Hall? And also offering Zoom to them as well. So a person that didn't want to come could go on Zoom. And then someone that wanted to come in person. I can't imagine the city council staying on Zoom forever, or the zoning board isn't on Zoom. I'm just opposed to it, that's all, but I'm only one person, so. Just
So-
wanted you to know, that's all, that's okay.
So
And
is that the decision? Is that the decision? Because this is obviously, we were in person last month. Has it been decided that it's going to be Zoom from here on out, or until?
Not forever, just until the dead end date, which is 2025. I don't know the month, but we are approved to conduct meetings until 2025. What month, Isaiah or Evan?
It's probably from April, because it was they pushed the deadline back 2 years. It was expiring last month. That's why we went back in person. And then they extended the provisions basically that allows
Yeah.
municipalities to hold open public meetings over virtual formats.
Madam Chair is March 31st, 2025.
Thank you. And I know a lot of companies that are remaining on Zoom. I happen to be one. My position is fully remote now, and I would probably venture to say that a lot of the applicants and public do like the opportunity to be on Zoom and not have to truck into City Hall, and there's probably some that don't like it. So don't know if it's split 50-50 or 75-25, but I'm sure there are the public and applicants that are finding this more beneficial. So
Madam, if I could say though, that this is a public hearing and an open meeting.
yes,
So it's not, you can't compare this to any business. You just can't. I mean, it doesn't cost any more money to go to City Hall. It doesn't make sense to compare it to that.
so
But that's
Marty,
what I had my say. Thank you.
yeah, I understand, and you're certainly entitled to your opinion. And why don't you get through this meeting and see how it works, and then maybe see if your opinion changes after a couple. It might or might not, and we can always bring this back up for discussion if the board feels necessary.
And,
No, nobody else has an opinion though.
Well, Madam Chair, I see
Madam
Councilor.
Chair, if I can.
Go ahead.
Sure.
I can certainly see the convenience of it, and I certainly see, both sides, Marty's side also. My concern would be if in the future the public does have a problem, then maybe we should revisit it, but I can certainly see both sides and the convenience of it too.
Yes, definitely, I agree. Larry, you have anything?
No, I mean, I agree. I also feel that, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I feel that the live meetings, we seem to I don't know if we accomplish it better, but the live meetings seem to kind of be a little smoother. However, the convenience of Zoom, I think more people check in on Zoom than would come to City Hall, but I could be wrong. But I'm fine either way. If the public is
Yeah.
looking for these to be live, which is fine, because I know they're run through the cable system too, right, Evan? I think they're run, Isaiah, they run through the cable system, so
Yeah.
people can see
Right.
it, but they have to dial in if they have a comment. And I agree with Jim as far as if the public has a concern about it, I have no issue going back to live, but it is a little convenient to do it on Zoom for, my crazy schedule.
Yeah, I'm sure. for a lot
Rob's
of
saying it's
those
a board decision.
Okay, yeah, if there had been tons of complaints and issues and, we haven't had any issues, and I feel like we've gotten really good at it. It does run smoothly in my opinion. So, all right, but you wanted to go on record, so you've done that, Marty, and then, give it a meeting or two and see if you change your mind or not. Okay, so next up, preliminary subdivision, Woodard Avenue. The applicant is Patrick Heffron and J.K. Holmgren. Are you steering this, Evan, as far as the moving?
Rob's doing it as well. He's here. We're both on it.
Okay, all right.
I'm
So,
sorry, Madam Chair, did we do the road acceptances?
yes,
Okay,
Deanna Road and Dondi Road, they were both approved.
all right.
Okay, thanks. All right, Scott, can you pull up your plans? This is the fun part, Marty.
Yes.
Scott's taken 3 years and he might be able to put the plans up. If not, Rob does it
evening.
for him.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. Myself, I love the Zoom meetings and the challenge that it's, that it's forced on me for the last 3 years. I'd be disappointed if I didn't have this stress in my life of hitting this green share screen and hoping something comes up. All right, I feel good about it today, Madam Chair.
Awesome. You're almost there.
Does anybody see a plan?
Not yet. You got to open it. Your cursor is on your plan and you just got to open I see where your cursor is.
All right, I'm told it's just slow, so. It says I am screen sharing, it's live.
Yeah, we can see your desktop or your folder here. You just have to open the file. Excuse me, I have a cold.
Let me just try it one more time. I'm stopping here again. Ah. All right. Anything yet, Madam Chair? It's telling me participants can see my screen.
Rob, you want to give him a hand?
Scott, we can only see your desktop or all your files are. It looks like, what I would normally be doing is clicking on one of those files like a double click.
Yeah, I did that, Mr. Hassan, and it brought the plan up on my screen.
There we go.
Okay, Evan's
Good
doing it.
looking. Yeah, Evan, thank you, Evan. Why you make me go through this every month, Evan? All right, folks, thank you for the patience as usual. Scott Farrier, Homegrown Engineering, representing Patrick Heffernan on a preliminary subdivision. Mr. Heffernan has property at 94 Wooded Ave. And it's a little bit of a different lot, but one that we've seen before, that we brought before you before, where it has frontage on 2 streets. It's a through lot. So Mr. Heffernan's case, he's got about a 42,000 square foot lot with the house fronting on Wooded Ave. The land goes back out to Wyoming Ave. And our proposal before you tonight is to divide the property into 3 lots. Lot A would have 23,000 square feet and the existing home on it. Lots B and C would each have a little over 9,000 square feet and have a proposed dwelling, a 4-bedroom home with a 2-car garage. Each of which have, again, about 9,300 square feet, which is more than all of the lots around us. There's municipal utilities available for both of the new lots, obviously the existing lot. And what we're looking for tonight, Madam Chair and board members, is just preliminary approval to allow us to go ahead and bring this proposal before the Board of Appeals.
Okay, I'll open it up to the board members for questions. Jim, any?
Sure, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. So what you said that's larger frontage than its surrounding neighbors. Just because I can't see it right now, what are the frontages for the surrounding neighbors that immediately abut?
The frontages are all, I was speaking specifically to the area of the abutting properties. We're at 9,300. Everybody else is much less than that.
Okay.
But, just looking at our 2 lots have 90 feet of frontage. Our direct abutters on Wyoming Ave have about 60 feet of frontage across the street, directly across the street. Obviously, you can see they certainly have more than the 90 feet, although in the area is about 16,000. So their number 62, Wyoming, is the one outlier in the neighborhood to the kind of the common lot frontage and area.
Okay, and it looks like side yard setbacks between 15 and 16 feet on
Correct.
both sides?
Yep, exactly. So we'd meet the side yard, front and rear yard setbacks for both of the new dwellings.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, Larry, any questions, or Marty?
Madam Chair, I have just comment and a couple questions. Well, maybe only one question, but I don't live too far from there, and a lot of the lots, the square footage are even smaller than that, what they're proposing. So I don't have a particular issue with that. What kind of homes are they going to build? It looks like a raised ranch, maybe, Scott?
We're actually hoping for a 4-bedroom colonial.
Colonial, okay.
Yep, a little bit of a smaller colonial, but a 30 by 36 instead of your regular 28-36 or 28-38. And
no garage or anything, right? Because
it does. We do have an attached 2-car garage.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I don't see it on the drawing, but
58's the total width of garage, right?
okay.
Right.
So does a
So the house
garage
is
under
36.
or?
Nope, it would be a a free,
Okay.
a standing garage. It would be a 36-foot house with a 22-foot garage.
And you got about 16 feet on each side, just about?
Yep.
Sideline. I noticed in my drive-by that there appeared to be like an existing garage on the right-hand side of that lot on Wyoming. Is that part of the lot or the neighboring lot?
Yeah, that's right there where Evan is. It's on our property. It's to be removed. There's a shed in that
All right.
garage on the
Okay.
Wyoming side that'll both be removed. That's the son.
Okay, okay, those are my questions. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I just know what the lots are like in that neighborhood, and I live on a much smaller lot with decent sized colonial with a garage, so it
Sure.
looks okay to me.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, I do have a question for Scott. Scott, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
My question is, it'll have to go before the zoning board because obviously it needs a variance, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So, tell me if you have had any opposition from neighbors.
Nothing yet, but this is the first meeting. I
Right,
would suspect if there are any issues, they'll certainly show up at the zoning board meeting.
okay, and right there, this is this man's backyard. So
Correct.
there's just trees on it currently?
Yes.
Okay, well, be prepared to have opposition from neighbors. I was a
Thank you.
ward counselor, I remember well. Okay, thank you, I appreciate it, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Okay. There are no other questions from the board. Open up to public. Do we have anyone from the public?
I guess I'll do it then. So members of the public, if you'd like to comment, go ahead and hit the raise your hand icon on your PC, or if you're on a phone, dial *9 and we'll move you over. I don't see anybody.
Okay, we'll close that section. So is there a motion?
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just noted, I see Councilor Castro on there. I don't know if she has a comment or not about this or not, or is she just watching? I didn't know she had just wanted to note that, that's all.
Thank you for
Okay.
noting me, but it's in Ward 3.
I know she would have raised her hand.
All righty, I'm
All
sure
right.
she would have. All right, thank you.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve with standard conditions.
Second,
All right, roll call. Larry Hassan,
yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes,
Tony Gonzalez, yes. All right, thank you very much, Scott. I'm sure we'll be seeing you shortly.
I'm going to get a quick tutoring session, Madam Chair, before my next hearing. Thank you.
All right. Okay, that brings us to number 4 on the agenda, definitive subdivision, 652 North Carey Street. We have the applicant, David and Darlene Cohen, with PMP Consulting, the representative. Are they here, Evan? Do you see them?
Yeah, we're moving them over right now.
All right, thank you.
Is that all of them?
No, I think Jim Burke's supposed to be on here.
I see him. He's with you. Okay. Let me move him over. That's everybody, Ed?
Yep.
Okay,
There's Mr. Burke.
thank you very much. Madam Chairwoman, whenever you're ready.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Madam Chairwoman, members of the Planning Board, Jim Burke, attorney at law with offices at 48 North Pearl Street in Brockton. I have the pleasure to represent David Cohen and his wife. With me today is Ed Jacobs, who is an engineer of record that's been working in this for a considerable period of time. By history, David and Ed previously appeared before the Planning Board with a preliminary subdivision with the hope to be allowed to attend the Zoning Board of Appeals to seek approval for a 2-lot subdivision. That unfortunately was not approved. And it was specifically of concern to David because it appeared that there were a number of like and similar projects that were in fact approved even the evening that he made his presentation. I sat down with Rob May, and I tried to be creative to deal in a way that the board may appreciate in terms of moving forward. There is some concern, and there has been some concern, I think, of the planning board with the end around that you sometimes get when you move directly to the zoning board of appeals with the approval of some of these properties. And in fact, they wind up being a subdivision which is purely within the province of the planning board. Understood. What Ed Jacobs and I suggested, and we presented to Rob, was that why don't we go ahead and make a definitive subdivision which would fall within the purview of the planning board under their control. What you've got before you today is, and I'll suggest from doing it for many years, and Ed likewise, if you took a look at the surrounding towns, which generally are not developer friendly, it is not unusual at all for a single parcel of land to have a 2-lot subdivision in which they go ahead and provide a subdivision and then seek waivers from various conditions, including sidewalk, including width of the road, including cul-de-sac. That's what we attempted to do here today, to be responsive to the planning board and provide you with some a project, hopefully, that you could appreciate and see and approve and still maintain control. I think that the project that was before the board that was turned down is one you've seen approved at the zoning board level numerous times. I think this site is particularly conducive to the requested development. In fact, the building in front is occupied by their son, and they intend to occupy the building to the rear. I'm going to let Ed go ahead and do the breakdown and show exactly how we suggest that approval be given with lots that will exceed 30,000 square feet and lots that will exceed the frontage requirement of the current ordinance. Go ahead, Ed.
I'm trying to share my screen. I'm having the same problem Scott's having.
We can
guys
see it.
the-
You're
the plan?
shared.
Your plan is up.
Okay, perfect. So as Jim was saying, we brought this project to you in front of you last year with just a 2-lot subdivision, with this lot in the back not having a roadway, but having 50 feet of frontage and having 50,000 square feet of area. And this lot having 102 feet of frontage and 30,000 square feet. That was unanimously shot down. So our next thought was, after Mr. Burke talked with Rob May, was to come in with some sort of roadway. And so what I've done is, if I put a 50-foot wide roadway in, which is the minimum for roadway width in Brockton, and a 60-foot cul-de-sac, which is the minimum radius for a cul-de-sac in Brockton, I can't get 30,000 square foot lots. So where this is just to be a 1-lot driveway, basically, and we've done these numerous times in Brockton, 20 feet of pavement, no curb, and put a fire truck turnaround, which we've shown that a fire truck can indeed go up here, turn around here, and come back down. But to fit all that, we've done a 40-foot wide roadway and a 52-foot wide radius at the cul-de-sac. The reason I did 52 is because when you do a paved cul-de-sac in Brockton, it's 50 feet for the turnaround. So if in fact that the cul-de-sac did need to get paved down the road, you could pave it without going outside the property lines, the layout lines. Both of the lots have more than the required frontage, and both of them have over 30,000 square feet. And that's about it.
All right, so I'll just open this up because I've reviewed this a few times, and why isn't the final construction of the private way to give access to the city road going to be finished as originally proposed and planned? So
Well,
we
it
can
was
just
never
get
originally proposed to be a finished road. We always,
a private way that went out to, that led to a city road. Was that not the plan? Because that's
oh,
my
this
understanding.
is a private way, yeah. It's not going to be accepted by the town,
It's,
by the city.
it's more of a driveway and not a private road.
We're requesting that it be a private way, and then we're asking for all the waivers. There's a waivers for sidewalks, for pavement width, for curbing. This is, with all due respect, what we've been forced into because of the original plan being denied, which had a 30,000 square foot lot, a 50,000 square foot lot. The 30,000 square foot lot had 102 feet of frontage, and the 50,000 square foot lot had 50 feet of frontage. I can show you examples of plans that you've approved in the last 3 years with lots that have less frontage than that. And this was unanimously denied to go to ZBA.
So it was, the first plan was denied, and then
Yep.
the second plan, the solution was suggested for the private way to give adequate frontage for both lots.
Yep. Which they have.
The only part that's missing is the actual road is not acceptable.
Well, that's why we're asking for waivers.
And then that will just go back to the original plan that was denied.
No. This is a roadway where that has frontage. Both lots have frontage on the new roadway. We're just asking for waivers on the pavement, the curbing. It's,
Waivers on pavement and curbing and sidewalks, you said.
yep.
All right, other questions from board members?
Yeah, sure, Madam Chair. Mr. Jacobs, if it's not going to be paved, what, is there going to be any material? Is it going to be a gravel road? Is it going to be?
There's a paved driveway.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah,
And
is
that
my
goes all
plan
the way.
still, is my plan still up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20-foot paved driveway.
Yeah.
All the way up to my cursor into his garage. And a fire truck emergency vehicle turnaround so that they
Okay.
don't have to back all the way down the driveway.
That's existing.
Nope, that's what we're
Okay.
proposing.
Gotcha. That was my question. So as far as the material you're going to use, it's not going to be paved. Is that what you're saying?
It is paved. Yeah, it's all paved.
Oh, it will be paved.
This is all going to be pavement.
Gotcha.
Everything that you see in gray is going to be pavement.
So the roundabout or the cul-de-sac is not going to be paved.
This is all everything you see in green will remain lawn. And this will be a paved driveway, 20 feet wide.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chairwoman, could I ask Mr. Jacobs a question?
Sure, just, I haven't had a thought. So was that not the department's understanding that it is all paved and not going to be gravel? Mr. Mayor, Evan?
No, they came to us with this unpaved cul-de-sac and as an option for you to consider. The ordinance, though, does say that the new construction must be on an approved street built to cities, a built out street. So I don't know how we're going to get through that, but that's a that I think think it will still remain a barrier for the board.
Jim Burke here. I'm not exactly sure I understand, Rob, where you're going with that. The design, yes, it's pursuant to the subdivision control law with waivers. It's no different than what you have in any town, which has its own bylaw in terms of requirements, and then it's modified by waiver under the subdivision control law. This is no different. This is, and again, we tried to find a way to be user-friendly in this project. This is a stylistic approach that's utilized frequently in the surrounding towns. It's a way to get a small lot subdivision built and still maintain control. If there's specifics about the design, certainly we can listen to it, but I don't think it's a critical impediment, the fact that it doesn't meet the ordinance, because that's exactly what happens in numerous cases involved with the subdivision control law. You've got rules and regulations, but you modify them.
Right, which is what the waiver process is for. And as Jim said, we've done this in numerous towns in the area. This is done all the time in the Bridgewaters. I work in the Bridgewaters a lot, where you have a lot that has a lot of area in the back, but maybe not as much frontage in the front. A lot of these towns have what they call a retreat lot or an estate lot, where you would be able to put in with 40 feet of frontage, be able to put in a driveway like this. And the fire department's request is that you put in some sort of vehicle for them to safely turn around and exit the property without having to back all the way down the driveway.
All right, thank you. Marty,
Yeah, maybe you could just help me out, because I'm new to the planning board, so I'm not familiar with this at all. It looks like an awfully big piece of property.
Yeah.
It's going to have two nice homes.
Yes.
Where people who own the homes are related.
That's accurate, yes.
That's accurate. The son
Yes,
and the
it is.
father. So,
Father and son, yes.
all right, so it was turned down before because it didn't meet the requirements of city ordinance for a street or a driveway.
Well, basically what happened, Marty, was it was a non-conforming lot only due to frontage. We had plenty of area, but we only had like 152 feet of frontage. So we created the lot where the existing house is. We gave that 102 feet of frontage. And then we gave the lot out back where the proposed house is going is 50 feet of frontage with 50-something thousand square foot lot. And it was unanimously denied to go to ZBA.
Those are big lots.
Yeah. And they've been approved all up, and there's 2 lots that have been approved within a quarter of a mile to the left with 52 feet of frontage and 39.5 feet of frontage. And then a quarter of a mile to the right, there's been 2 lots approved, with one with 52 feet of frontage and one with 75 feet of frontage, all within the last 3 years. Not to mention on Quincy Street, there's lots there with 60 feet of frontage, 115 feet of frontage with 17,500 feet of area. So for the original plan not to get denied, I think was a travesty.
The issue now is the road.
Yeah, which we've been forced into. I brought this up a week later to Rob May, and I sat right out in the hallway with him, and I showed him this plan, and I showed him the plan you approved that same night on East Street, and he said that you guys messed up. That's what he told me.
Whoa.
so we shouldn't mess up again.
Well,
Well, we should not have approved the East Street lots.
and it's not the only ones, Rob. I mean,
Oh, I know.
one you
They're
just
all
had
over
in
the
front
city.
right now on Woodward Street that you just unanimously approved. Those lots are 9,000 square feet. You gotta be kidding me.
Absolutely accurate.
You gotta be kidding me.
I agree.
Well, you
Madam
agree,
Chair.
but my client, meantime, the interest rate has gone up 400%. You know, these are people's livelihoods you're messing with here.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah, and we're not trying to. We want to approve things,
Oh,
and
you
I
could've fooled
don't.
me.
I kind of feel like we're being thrown under the bus here, and I'm just
Well,
gonna go
no,
on
we're
record
the ones
saying
that
that.
got thrown.
And so since we did
We got
something
thrown under
wrong
the
in the
bus
past,
last year.
we should correct ourselves and not continue to do things the wrong way, is how I feel, since people are pointing out that we did things the wrong way. Let's do things the right way. And since this road was proposed and a solution, why can't you just comply with it so that we?
Because
as
that costs a lot of money.
Not be thrown on the bus again.
Madam
and
Chair, that costs a
the right
lot of
way.
money to build a cul-de-sac like that for one house. Why don't we just go back to the way it was and approve the plan that I brought to you the first time as a prelim?
Confused.
Madam Chair, it's Larry, I have some questions and it's
Yes,
probably
Larry.
gonna-
Yes, Larry.
it's probably gonna be the one that just, just aggravates the situation a little bit more, but so that turnaround is a grassy area that if a fire truck had to go through there, that's the area that they would be driving over or backing into, right?
No, not necessarily,
No.
no, not at all.
Okay,
The truck would go up onto Mr. Cohen's property, back into that tail going off to the right,
okay,
and then turn left and go out into the street. We've done an auto turn on it, and even the
Okay.
largest fire truck in Brockton can make that
okay.
3-point turn, no problem.
I don't think, and I'm not talking out of school, but I don't think Chief Williams had a problem with it, because I saw an email that went out that he didn't have an issue with it, so I was just looking at that sketch and looking at that, so that's that vague look of a cul-de-sac that's on there that kind of stretches out beyond it. The dimensions that are sketched on that, what is that purpose for? I'm not an engineer, so I'm just asking.
Where are we?
So yeah, right there, yep, that area there, those sketches there.
That's the front yard setback.
Okay, I get it. So for your frontage.
Yeah, so we can get our frontage around that,
Okay,
correct,
all
which is
right.
over 200 feet, I believe.
Okay,
I can't
Well,
read
my
that. I have to
question-
zoom in.
thank you, Ed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Other questions for the board?
No, I don't have any other questions.
Okay. So we'll open it up to the public.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments on this proposed subdivision, please signal by using the raise your hand icon. To use the raise your hand icon, if you hover your mouse or pointer at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a menu pop up, and it looks like your hand is standing up. And I do know that Councillor Lally is here, but I do not see anyone else wanting to address the board on this issue. So I would turn the floor over to Councillor Lally.
All right. While you're getting him over, I just want to say we did receive a letter from the direct abutter across the street, actually in support of this.
I think there were 2 letters, weren't there, Evan? I know I provided them to Isaiah.
I just see the one now, but there very well may be. Let me look.
Did I make it?
Yes, sir, you have.
I've crossed over. No, thank you, Director May. Thank you, members of the board, Madam Chair. I wanted to say on the project, I understand the questions the board is grappling with. I did talk to the applicant and his counsel. They are, the applicant is someone who I have dealt with before, just, as a constituent, somebody in the neighborhood. They've always been, forthright, and, they have good rapport with the neighbors they have now. I know that I did talk with them a little before this came up. I suggested a meeting with the neighbors, but the applicant had already gone out and, basically canvassed the area around the property themselves, which is something I've not seen an applicant do. So I have to give credit where credit is due. I've seen developers willing to have a meeting, but to go out and actually go up to the door and say, hey, this is, what I'm looking to do. That's something that I feel, deserves a tip of the cap. I did receive a letter that had some questions about it, but the letter was anonymous. But it mostly was just a concern for, the proper respect, where it comes to privacy be shown to the neighbors. So I, wanted to voice that, wanted to, thank the developer or the applicant for, being so proactive, when working with and connecting, with the neighbors. I know the board has some things they'd like to see answered, and I trust that that will come to a satisfactory conclusion. But I thank you for your time. I thank the board, and as always, I trust the board's judgment and efforts. So thank you.
Right, thank you. Okay, any other questions for board members or public?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to address the board, please use the raise your hand icon. And I do not see anyone wishing to speak at this time.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Well, Madam Chair, if I could, so if we can deliberate on this as a board just for a second. So the technicality comes down to the turnaround. So is that what we're balking at? Anybody?
Madam Chair, Jim, I'm not balking at it. I think the plan looks fine.
Okay.
There is a
Yeah,
turnaround there. There's a back, they can back it in.
Yeah, Chief Williams had a look at that and said that he didn't have any concerns, which is good from the fire professional. The lots are big enough. I don't have an issue with it at all. So I wanted to voice that piece. Motion to approve.
Second,
Seconded.
Okay, roll call, Larry,
yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crowley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, we
Thank
need
you,
to
Mr.
And the
Burke.
waivers.
Sure,
Have the
there's
waiver.
also a surety.
Evan, do you have a list of waivers that they're requesting? You
Yeah,
have to vote on those individually.
All right, yeah. Give me 1 second.
And the surety is going to be an interesting question because they're really not building out public utilities. So I don't know if the board will want to require that or not.
Madam Chairwoman, if I could. Rod,
Yeah.
what did you just say? They're not going to use public water and sewer?
Well, they are using public water and sewer, but it's not as if it is a standard subdivision that is going to have 4 or 5 houses built off of it, and where you would want to have surety to make sure that the road was constructed to city standards. And since the road, using air quotes, is actually a driveway, the board may consider waiving surety.
And it's a private way though, so it's not a city street anyway,
Not at this time, correct.
right?
All right.
And I
Right,
don't
that-
see that coming to city street.
That plan
I
changed.
don't see that either.
Okay, Evan, you have a list of waivers?
Yes, I just emailed them over to you. So you should be able to
Okay.
see the list of them.
All right. Do you wanna, who wants to speak to the waivers? you're requesting, Attorney Burke or Mr. Jacobs?
No, let Ed go ahead and identify the waivers that were created by him.
Evan, can you put those up on the screen? I can't seem to place them.
Yep, give me 1 second.
Thank you. All of them have to do with the roadway. And Jim, did we have one on that?
I don't,
That
this is
100 foot
several.
buffer?
I heard you say waivers on pavement, but hold on, you said that this is gonna be a paved private driveway.
Right, so what we mean by that is Brockton requires 34 feet of pavement on a standard roadway with granite curbing on both sides and a 5-foot sidewalk on both sides. So this is just basically a driveway where we've listed these, we've identified these waivers as part of the roadway construction that we're these regulations that we're seeking waivers for. So the first one would be B2D, property lines at street intersections shall be rounded or cut back to provide for a radius of not less than 30 feet. So that's the radii coming in off of North Carey Street. So you would have the fillets coming in, the two curves coming in have to be 30 feet. So we're asking for no property line radii, but we are showing radii on the pavement of 25 feet, which should be more than sufficient. The minimum width of a residential street right of way shall be 50 feet with 34 feet of pavement centered within the layout, except when the proposed subdivision is located on an existing way of record. So we're asking for a right of way width of 40 feet with a pavement width of 20 feet because it's just a driveway to service one house. Dead end street shall be provided at the closed end with the turnaround having an outside roadway diameter of at least 100 feet, a property line diameter of at least 120 feet. Unless otherwise specified by the board. No hammerhead layouts will be allowed. And that by that, they mean property lines, not pavement. Roadway, so we're requesting a waiver to make the roadway to be 20 feet wide, the pavement, with a 50-foot wide turnaround for emergency vehicle access. The property line diameter is 102 feet.
Okay, so this document's pages long.
Yep.
Wait, can you just bullet waiver number
Yeah,
one?
so we basically asked for all waivers on the roadway that are required to build a standard roadway in the city of Brockton, because we're not building a roadway for one house. This is just a standard, basically a standard driveway, 20 feet wide.
So the waiver you're asking for is only 20 feet wide
Of pavement, yeah.
pavement. That's waiver one. First one, right? That's separate because we have to do these individually.
Okay, so the first one would be for no property line radius at the street where the two streets intersect. That would be the first one. And as I said, we are showing radius points, a radius for the pavement, but just not the property lines. That would be the first one, B2D.
Madam Chair, Larry. So
Yeah, this is what
in order
it's
to
getting
move this
tricky.
along, I'm looking at it like this is maybe a practice run, but motion to approve waiver of no property line radii at intersecting street. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
I second that.
Okay,
Roll call, Larry Hassan,
yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes,
Tony Gonzalez, yes. All right,
And then we're looking at B3, waiver of right of way width of 40 feet with a pavement width of 20 feet. Motion to approve.
Second.
okay, roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
yes,
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
B5B, waiver to roadways to be 20 feet wide with a 50-foot turnaround for emergency vehicle access. The property line diameter is 102 feet. Motion to approve.
second,
Roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
If there's more to the page, we're gonna have to get a drop down on that because I can't see any more.
I think there's
Is that as
two
far as you can see? Hold on.
curbing
There
and
you go.
So we're at A3. Nope, right? Yeah, nope, okay. Waiver to a 50-foot wide natural landscape buffer and a 19-foot wide dense planting buffer. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Oh, she's on mute. She muted some.
and you,
Yes.
Got
okay.
it.
Tony Gonzalez, yes, okay.
We're at A3, 12 inches of well compacted binding gravel to a width of 20 feet for residential. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
Let's see, we're at. Okay, I see that. Okay, so waiver on country drainage system consisting of a stone diaphragm and grass swale. Motion to approve.
Second.
Under drainage system consisting of stone, diaphragm, and grace. A roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
On the curbs and sidewalks, requesting relief from section, does that say VC? Curbs and
Yes.
sidewalks in its entirety. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
Motion, no, not motion. You guys got me on track all of a sudden.
You're doing great,
Waiver,
Larry.
requesting relief from section VD, street trees in its entirety. Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right, roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
Monuments. I'm looking, it's very blurry here, but maybe it's just my eyes. Okay.
Well-
Request relief from section VE monuments. Thank you. In its entirety. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
Okay, preliminary as-built plan, waiver to request relief from section VK preliminary as-built plan in its entirety. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes.
We're at addendum A, typical roadway cross-section. We, waiver to requesting blanket relief from addendum A in the typical roadway cross-section. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes. Okay, and then the last one would be a waiver on the surety.
Motion to approve waiver on surety.
Second.
Roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yep.
Tony
Yes.
Gonzalez, yes. All right, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Cohen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank planning board for its time.
Thank you. Thank you for the,
Thank you.
and your cooperation. Appreciate it.
Just want to repeat again, because I think Counselor might have not heard that 549 Copeland Street has been continued. Okay. All right. Next up, 157 Center Street. We have WR Construction as the applicant and representative.
Any representatives with this case, go ahead and raise your hand and we can move you over.
You see hands raised? Well, there they are. Okay.
There we go. Am I here?
Yes, we can
You're
hear you.
here. Is there anyone
Okay.
else with you guys or just you?
It's Wilton's here.
No one else we have to move over though, right? You're all in the same room?
I don't believe so.
Okay. You may begin. You have a plan you need pulled up?
Evan, I think you have that, right?
I can pull it up if you cannot. Hold on. Should be able to see it, and you guys will just have to guide me when you want me to scroll down and everything.
What do you want? Where do you start? Okay, so I'm new to this, so I apologize for my informality. I actually have not a clue what I'm doing. However, we have a lot that we purchased. It was an old mill factory. We proposed to have it converted to 24 residential apartments with a common space down below. We did go through and planning board and zoning approved. And I'm sorry, we went through tech review. I apologize. And we went through zoning. Then we went through, I have the permit for the dumpster. Everything's passed through all of the departments of the tech review. And what can we do?
Harry, we're not picking up your voice very well anymore.
Oh.
I'm not sure where your microphone is.
I have no idea.
There you are. You're back. Okay,
I'm
good.
sorry.
And I'm not sure if all the board members are as familiar with this project as other departments, so you might just want to give a quick rundown of the project itself, what you're doing here in general.
Yeah. Okay. So 157 Center Street LLC proposes that the building be converted to accommodate 24 apartments. There's no apartments to be in the basement. We have accommodated public parking. We have ADA parking in the parking lot, full turnaround for a fire safety turnaround, like for the fire truck. We have created a cul-de-sac, which is, I think, on that last page, Evan. If you look at this here, this is on the last page. That's the full turnaround for the fire truck to accommodate for fire safety, public safety. Above and we've taken into consideration the lighting that was asked of us, the downward lighting. I have that in place as well. I've spoken to the neighbors and worked through and talked about all of anything that potentially they were looking for. We've had an email communication back and forth. Their concerns were addressed, but they weren't things of primarily really negative, anything in negative. It was more along the lines of where was the lighting going to be and would it shine on their building? How would we take care of things like parking and towing? And we've provided them our information that we have as far as towing and as far as our fire safety and repaving of the parking lot, taking into consideration their easement as well. We have our stormwater permit in place. Evan, what did I miss?
It looks like you returned to CBA. The original parking variance was approved.
Yes.
The ZBA would like to see an addition of exterior architecture lighting, which you addressed.
Okay. Yes, and I did send it along in the attachment when I forwarded over the plan, so you do have that as well.
And I will make note that Deputy Fire Chief Williams also approves of this plan. He couldn't be on tonight, but he did send an email saying that he approves this. He's in agreement with your plan here. Not that he approves it, but he's in agreement. Okay, that's any other questions from board?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may, the petitioner, we just saw this case on the ZBA. She did address the fact that she spoke to the neighbors. Could you be more specific on the issues that you've went over with them, please?
Sure. One of their concerns had to do, like I mentioned, with the lighting. I did assure them that we would follow the zoning board requirements of not having it facing their building. In addition to that, they had a question in regards to making sure that we painted, we corresponded and we had an open line of communication with them in regards to maybe if we painted our lines white, they wanted to make sure that we had them white so that they could paint them blue if that's what they wanted. They wanted to make sure that we potentially could put up some billards in front of their lobby doors, which we've put over to our engineer, civil engineer, and we aren't opposed to that as long as it falls within the requirements that we have set forth to us. We'll put them in, of course. It's not a problem. And then in addition to that, they had some concerns in regards to, or comments in regards to snow removal. Yes, sorry. Yeah. We did advise them that we use our own snow removal, that we do our own. So they asked us if we potentially could bid on their property. Above and beyond that, it was really general in nature, that more things like painting of lines than maybe the one question was, what were the hours that we would be working? I did go ahead and reach out to get our ordinance, as well as speaking with the police department. They've told me and advised me that it was from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. construction could work. Monday through Friday, and on Saturday from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. We, however, have told them that there would be nothing past 7 p.m. and we would potentially just be doing cleanup in the later hours so that it wouldn't be disruptive to our neighbors.
Thank you. Let me slow you down for a second. What is the snow removal plan?
So currently we have a company, our own company, that will go in, remove the snow from the site if it's requiring relocation.
Okay, they'll take it off site?
Yes, if
Okay.
it's required of enough snow that it can't be dealt with, yes.
I do remember a question on the ZBA about a power line going into an open window. Has that been addressed?
So we actually are a little confused on where that is and what they're. Oh, you can, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
If he's speaking, we can't hear him at all.
Yeah.
Still can't hear.
So currently the existing power line goes to the window. This is going to be relocated because if you look, I believe, at it in the plans that My Young did, as well as these plans, there's 2 utility poles that are put in place that we proposed. Yes. One.
So the power line going to the window is going to be relocated.
Yes.
And is that in the plan now? With what the department has, or no?
Yes.
Mr. May, is that accurate? It's in the plan that the department has, shows the power line relocated?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Power line is relocated.
Okay, thank you. All right, other questions from the board? Okay, open up for public.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand icon. Whoops, sorry. And I think Jed, you should be able to speak now.
Hi, how are you? Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
good
we
evening,
can.
sir.
Good evening, Rob and Madam Chair, and the other planning board members and the other folks that are here. My name is Jed Haresco. I am one of the trustees at Soco Lofts, which on this plan is the existing 7-story brick building on the left-hand side. And I also live here, and as you could tell by the plan, 157 is pretty close to us. So I can look out my window right now, right where I'm sitting, and I can see their building. And as you can see, they own most of the property in the rear. In many cases, it comes up against our building, except for our deeded spots in this sort of upper left corner. And but there's an easement that allows us access, as well as keeps their their residents' cars from being directly up against our building. Correct that we had a meeting on the site. So not only did we exchange emails, but last Friday we had a meeting on the site. And I was generally cooperative, and I wrote up an email afterwards capturing where I thought there was agreement, and there were, 12 points in that. And I would say we probably had 9 of those we agreed on. And 3 are not disagreements, but are sort of still unresolved. So one of those is the construction hours. I pointed out that the construction clause in the noise ordinance limits construction till 6 p.m. So which is paragraph G, as I understand it. So that's one of my questions, open question to the planning board is what are the actual hours of allowed construction in Brockton, in particular, not just the 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays, but also on weekends. What is it allowable on Sunday? Is it allowable on Saturday? Because not only does it affect me personally, but we have to answer to our fellow owners in the building as to what's going on behind us. So,
Madam.
Yes.
Just a second, Jed. Madam Chair.
Yes.
I do have a text into the building commissioner. I have not heard back from him just yet. However, the hours of operation are controlled by the building department. So you would not be able to grant hours that exceed those, just as an FYI.
Right.
So whatever the city hours are what they will be building.
Mr. Hescrow, what were the hours when you were doing construction?
well, we were renovated about 16 years ago, around 05. So I wasn't here then. I have no idea.
So I'm sorry, today I spoke with Lily from the building department. She called me back at 10 a.m. And she did confirm with the building department that it is from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. And that on Saturday, it is 7 to 11. That the police department is the department in which regulates this, which I expressed to Jed. I also went in and did give him all of the ordinance because the one that he's citing is the one from 2020. The revised one is from 2021, where it states that it is from 7 to 10.
Yeah, 10 p.m. sounds very late to me, but if
and of course
motion to
agree.
Right.
Well, can I
We agree with
please?
that, which is why we said to Jed and with the building department as well as with the police department. And Jonathan, another owner, was there, and Jed was, my understanding with Jed and Adrian were in agreements with this because Adrian had explained to Jed at the same time, which Adrian is his property manager who has been on multiple building sites as well, and had expressed to him that typically around 6 p.m., anywhere between 5 to 6 p.m. is generally cleanup, and where it's inside the building, it's quieter and things of that nature, where we're usually wrapping up around there. So 7 p.m. is like the exiting generally.
So, Rob, who are you waiting for to validate the hours again?
Jim Plouffe, who is the building commissioner.
The building commissioner. So if the board decides to pass this, then that just would be a condition that they comply with the construction hours per the building commissioner.
Well, or you can limit it. You can't go beyond it. So if you approve 7 to 7, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturday.
Well, yeah, I okay. If this construction is outside, then I would think that
No,
we
well-
limit the outside, but when they're working inside and it is quieter if you're painting and whatever. could follow
The only
building
other
code.
Madam-
exception is they noted the emergency use. So what was told to us was that, or to me today, was that if there was an emergency, there's always an exception for that based upon to
Correct.
the emergency, but that's really things like, you know, if a water line breaks in the street, of course, there's going to be working. And if that's at 11, 12 p.m., then that's something that they would have to deal with based upon the emergency. But that was
That is
really
correct.
something that they explained to me was really like the town above and beyond that. Wilton, what were you looking to explain?
Regular work hours is 7 to 5 p.m. for the company. You know, if you have something unfinished, something urgent, maybe we stay a little bit more longer, but regular work hours 7 to 5 p.m. You know, we don't want to say we're gonna be there late. If something urgent need to be addressed in that time, maybe we're gonna be a little bit more late. But basically, every day we're gonna be there 7 to 5 p.m.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Hesco, you have your hand up?
Yes. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So just to back up to the part we were just on, I do not appreciate being lectured. The property manager answers to the trustees, not the other way around. Property manager does not own property here. Okay, so I just want to be clear about that. My dad's an architect. He's 82 years old. He's got 2 buildings under construction in Roxbury right now. I don't appreciate being lectured on this or misrepresented. Now, to be honest, part of their being behind the 8 ball time-wise was because they were bending some of the rules with the construction, and I absolutely called the police and the building department, the fire department. When I see people doing roofing work next door without proper staging, for example, and I assume the city came and shut them down and produced some delays. So
Actually,
I'm
no,
not
that's
gonna-
not true.
I'm not.
Let him speak.
If I can continue speaking. So I agree, we agreed to be cooperative, but I just want to, I, as a trustee representing the other owners here, most of whom are owner occupants who live here and are voters in the city of Brockton and taxpayers, I can't just trust us on some of these things. I totally get it. You're not going to be hammering at 10 p.m. because you don't want to be paying workers there too. I agree. And we also agreed to be cooperative in terms of emergencies. So for example, we can open the other gate that leads to our lot if they need access to bring large trucks through. They have promised to, as they put it, to over communicate with us about any, noise, mishaps, things, disruptions. We appreciate all of that. And I think we are in alignment on that. I'm just concerned about, I would like to see, as trustees, we'd like to see the construction hours built, a little bit more in writing than just trust us on the 10 p.m. issue. On the other
Mr.
issues.
Hesco, we can, because we've kind of addressed that, and they did say 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., maybe a little later on a certain day if something was being finished up. So we can put, he put these hours in writing. It's being recorded, and when the board members vote, if you could make that a condition.
Right. So you could absolutely hear hammering. A painting is a completely different story. You can absolutely hear hammering next door. They were hammering earlier in their work. You could absolutely hear that.
All right, so the
even if
company
it's
work
exterior.
hours are traditionally 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Right.
So if this would be moved forward with an approval, I would suggest that we put that condition in there, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with an occasional 6 p.m. if needed.
Sure.
Okay.
And what's the Saturday? Was there a Saturday stipulation or no?
Mr. May is gonna get back on
Okay.
that. But did you say 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturdays? 11 p.m. at night?
No, it is 11 a.m.
11 a.m. on Saturdays, and we can't hear you. You're muted, ma'am. You're muted. You muted yourself, but that's so 7 to 11 a.m. on Saturdays. Okay.
No, it's 7 to 11 p.m. I was surprised. The ordinance, I know, I said the same thing. The ordinance is ordinance, I think it's 27. 4, something like that.
Well,
And I was surprised, but again, we have expressed and explained, this will never happen.
so there won't be work on Saturdays.
At 11 PM, that's not happening.
But I think 7 AM is too early because people, that's, their day off and they don't want to wake up at 7 AM to construction noise. So
what I was thinking was trying to figure out and find out what the time was for allotment for mowing. I know that, people in my town, for example, I have several houses, one of them being in a close proximity, which is Bridgewater. We are not allowed to mow our lawns before 7 AM on Saturday or Sunday. It's a condition, like we can't go out and do that. But so if we can figure out what those rules would be potentially, because those aren't there, maybe we could get something through there. But what would be the hours that you potentially would be looking, maybe proposing for a Saturday?
Are you asking me?
No.
If you're asking, I would say 9 AM till no later than 2 PM, 3 PM on a Saturday. But
I respectfully disagree. I apologize. I don't want it to be our bone of our thing,
right.
But I could understand if you were talking about Sunday's church, Sunday's the family gathering day, but unfortunately in the construction world, it's 9 AM our day is already well into. We're moving through our halfway point at that point. We've got, so much in the works that are moving by 9 AM that to start at 9 AM, you shut us down for that day.
Well, Madam Chair,
So, again, I would propose that it would be 7 AM until.
I think 7 AM is too early.
Potentially to 3.
I'd be very upset at 7 AM if I woke up to that type of noise on a Saturday after I worked all week.
Madam
There
Chair,
isn't a lot of noise. I'm unsure of what that
One
noise
person
would be.
at a time, please.
Sure.
Okay.
What would that
Madam-
noise potentially be that you were talking about?
Okay, so Mr. Hescrow, actually, this floor was yours, but please don't be redundant. Is there anything new you want to
no,
say?
I'm not being redundant. So I would say, and I apologize for contradicting you, Madam Chair, on the 9 AM, 7 AM. I would say that, or maybe I'm not contradicting you, but I would offer from our side, a compromise of 9 AM to 5 PM on Saturday. I think we're absolutely willing to trade an 8-hour workday for not having the works go on between 7 AM and 9 AM. So I'd like to offer that as a compromise. The other point that I wanted to, that's unresolved, is about the utility poles. So I want to be clear that our interest or our wish would be that the line comes down completely, not that it be relocated. So the planning department has photos I've sent in the past of the line that crosses the property. There's basically a line that comes off Commercial Street, has 2 poles on our property, and then goes to 2 poles on their property and does currently feed a window in their property. And our thinking or our hope was that they could talk to National Grid and find out whether they can get an electric feed, the service off Center Street, for example. I mean, the building comes right up on Center Street. And this would not only get the lines off our property, but would be a nice step for the city of Brockton of bringing down some overhead lines that don't really seem to feed much of anything currently right now. I would also add that in my cursory search of the Plymouth County deeds, I can't find any utility easement for the existing poles across our property. And so I'd like to note that issue too. So we encourage the developer, and I would hope they would continue to talk to National Grid, and maybe we can work this out with National Grid. Thank you.
We spoke to National Grid. Their opinion is that they're pre-existing, and that they're well-established lines. In regards to what Jed is speaking about, the cost to relocate lines, who's going to endure that? Because it's not like it's a couple $100 or even within the first 5,000. I mean, we're talking an exorbitant amount of money. And if we're relocating lines, they're existing. Why would, I just don't understand how that could be a condition.
Mr. May, the department doesn't have any issues with the current plan of the power line?
No, that's typical National Grid operations. I would love to see them buried, but that is an extra cost and they would need to have an easement from the other property owner ahead of time.
Okay. All right. Is your hand still up, Mr. Hesper? Have you
But
finished?
I just wanted my last comment is,
Sure.
it seemed to me that if the line currently feeds through a window, that perhaps that is not the main feed to the building. And that there is perhaps electric feed off Center Street right to the building, which is a matter of 12 feet of distance. So that was part of the question, really, was if this can be looked into. So thank you. I'll take my hand out.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that. All right. So again, Deputy Fire Chief Williams doesn't have any issues with this. The applicant has voluntarily stated 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. during weekdays. I do think that 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a Saturday is appropriate. So with that being said, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, on the motion, I think it gets a little complicated when you restrict hours. I know the construction business a little bit. I would tend to, 7's early, 9's a little late. I think the concession is probably at 8. And as far as the residents, you don't want those people there. You want them to bing, bang, boom, and get out of there. By restricting their hours, you're gonna add weeks to the project. So
8 a.m. still too early for me, but fair, Jim. Okay.
yeah, it's just, it's construction. It's not
It's
ideal.
temporary. I get it. It's temporary, but it's, it is what it is. Okay. Is there a motion? And, respectfully, the contractor did say, sometimes during the week, they might, I'm not saying 5 p.m. on the dot. And then if they're not out of there, the neighbors start calling whoever they're going to call. No. So maybe it's a grace period so that we don't have any unnecessary friction.
Thank you.
So that would be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with the grace period of another hour or two. Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a little grace period of an hour or so later.
All right, so I'll motion to approve with standard conditions, also with stipulation that construction starts weekdays no earlier than 7 a.m. and no later than 5 p.m. And on Saturdays, no earlier than 8 a.m. and no later than 5 p.m.
Second.
All right, roll call, Hassan.
Yes.
Sorry, Jim, you want to add that grace period?
Oh, sure. In addition to the motion, a 1 hour grace period. Sorry, let me back up. Are we adding that just to the end or to the beginning and the ends of the workday?
Oh, the end. The end.
Okay,
Only the
so
end.
on the motion, just amend that to have a 1 hour window of flexibility.
Beyond the 5 hour.
Beyond the 5 p.m. on
Right,
both weekdays and Saturday.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crowell,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, moving on, we are at 105 Industrial Boulevard. The applicant, Brockton Industrial, Eugene Sullivan is representing.
I'm moving Mr. Sullivan over. And Jean, you're ready, when you're ready.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Gene Sullivan. I'm a civil engineer, and I filed the application in front of the board tonight on behalf of Brockton Industrial Power Owner LLC. Some of the board members may recall we were in front of you in the fall of 2021. We received approval to construct a
Excuse me, Mr.
100.
Sullivan, do you want to pull up your plan? Or do you need?
I will,
assistance?
yeah, when I get to it. I just give a little brief background, and then I'll pull and share my screen and show you what this is about.
Okay, sure. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. So we gained approval to construct a 150,000 square foot warehouse on a property along the Plain River that was previously unutilized, development wise anyways. We started construction there last spring, early summer, and the building is up now. We're doing paving and things like that while we're waiting to secure a tenant. And now I will share my screen and show you what we're here to apply to this board for, if that's okay. Let me know when you can see my screen.
You're good.
Okay, great. So if you look, can you see my cursor moving?
Yes.
Okay, great. So right now that's hovering on our building that we had approved previously. As part of this approval, we proposed, this is the Industrial Way or Industrial Boulevard right-of-way. Our site access as of today is actually from Oak Hill. There's a section of pavement adjacent to this building on Oak Hill that leads into our property. We actually have our construction fence set up right there at our property line today. In our previous approval, we proposed to the city to take from that point where the construction fence is all the way around to our secondary driveway. Here's one driveway here, here's the other one there, and extend the roadway to past the extent of our property so that there was a way in and a way out for our vehicles. Additionally, we proposed to overlay the existing right-of-way heading out to Oak Hill Parkway or Oak Hill Way. Today, we're in front of you to ask the town permission to actually extend the road from where we previously were approved up to a cul-de-sac that exists right now. You'll see this gray shaded area right here. As of today, it's an existing approved right-of-way by the original subdivision, but there isn't a road there. We found great difficulty getting people to our site using GPSs and so forth. They always go into what is WB Mason, number 60 Industrial Boulevard, because they think that's how the road continues. We think for fire safety, operations for ourselves and the other tenants on the road, it would be best for us to connect this all together so it's one looping road as initially intended. The right-of-way is 50 feet wide, so we're proposing a 40-foot wide roadway width curb to curb and proposing granite curbing on each side. You will see I submitted a waiver to ask the board to consider using 5-inch granite curbing, whereas we can't locate 6-inch curbing anywhere these days. It's just not available. And lastly, the infrastructure for the road, if I zoom in here, is actually in place. There are some catch basins and drainage systems to handle the stormwater runoff in the roadway that were originally constructed. We will be raising some of the rims to meet our grading, not very much, maybe a foot here or there. It's pretty well where it's supposed to be. We'll strip off the loom, put down our pavement gravels and pave it. We intend to do this work this summer if approved and get it done so that when our tenant comes along, it'll be something they'll be able to use. There was also, we had a meeting last week with Rob and his staff and also the city engineer. And we went over some things drainage wise. He expressed some concern about this pond here that I'm happy to address with him in another forum. But I will say to the board that we have over 2.5 feet of freeboard. When this pond takes a little bit of parking lot out front here, we have over 2.5 feet of extra space per se in that pond under a 100-year storm event. His concern was it would overflow into the roadway, but it's not really feasible. But I'm happy to meet with him outside of this public meeting and resolve that and have that be a condition of our approval. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. It's fairly straightforward and I think it's a win-win for everybody.
I agree. Straightforward, win-win, good solution to this traffic issue and circulation. Questions from the board members?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
as usual, I'm just looking for a little clarification. I don't think it's anything big, but on that map you were showing, Mr. Sullivan, can
Yes,
you
sir.
show me both the entry and exit areas off of those roads where they're going on to? I think the public would like to see, but I'm sure it's Oak Hill Way, and then the other one goes out through that subdivision onto Sergeant's Way. Is that
That's
I
exactly
didn't
what it
really
does.
see that, but I think that's where they're going, right?
It is where they go, yes. I don't really, I can direct you, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Right?
You don't have
So-
to, I don't think it's gonna, okay, I see.
Here's
So,
our two
Madam-
driveways here. It goes out to Oak Hill right here,
correct,
right? And when you continue on towards the top of the page, this cul-de-sac actually exists between
Right.
what is Zoots now and WB Mason. And
right.
it goes straight up off the page out to
You're gonna go
Sergeant.
to, kind of through that industrial park by the, there's a
There's
food
a-
operation over there. I forget the
Yeah.
name.
Exactly,
out
on
to
the corner, there's a
Sergeant's
gourmet
Way.
food shop or store
Right.
or operation. You're right. Yep.
And I'm sorry, Rob, did you have something to mention?
So I was going to say what they are doing is building out a paper street, just like a residential developer who wanted to build a single family home would have to do.
Okay.
So it is built to just shy of city standards, and that's because this road was platted or laid out long before we adopted the subdivision regulations. We think this would be an excellent improvement to the area. It improves safety because you have better circulation and it's just better for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I actually, Rob, while we're talking about the benefits, one of the other benefits is the DPW asked us to actually loop the water main between Oak Hill and the existing water main that comes down Industrial Boulevard. So we're extending this water main out to the street, which will improve pressure in the area, also help with cleaning and all of that. So we don't have dead end water supplies, which we agreed to do and is on the plan set that we have now.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
No, looks like a good plan.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public?
Madam Chair, I do have Councilor Nicastro. This is her ward. And then anyone else who would like to speak, please use the raise your hand icon so I can identify you. And Councilor Nicastro, you should be able to address the board now.
Can you see me?
Not yet. I see your name.
I hear you.
hear
I
you.
don't see anything that says turn video on. But you're right, you can hear me and that's what's important. Good evening, Susan Nicastro, 90 Samuel Avenue. I represent Ward 4 on the Brockton City Council, and I was not involved, but monitoring this building, and I'm really delighted it's getting erected, and I'm sorry that a prior tenant was lost. And the question that I have is, I remember when this land was laid out, that's how long I've lived in Brockton, amazingly. Is this a public road? And do you need permission from the abutters to extend the road, even though I think it's a very good idea?
My answer would be that it is an approved right of way. Meaning it was shown as a roadway on the original subdivision. A lot of the infrastructure that was intended to be in the road is there. I don't know why it wasn't built or completed once upon a time, but I believe.
Probably money.
Yeah, but it isn't owned by the neighbors, so we wouldn't ask each person on either side, to my knowledge, that it doesn't have a butters or a lot number or anything like that on the town maps.
Okay, does it conform to road standards, the width of it and all that?
Well, it was created as a 50-foot roadway, which I believe was done prior to your new standard, which is 60 feet.
Right.
But we are constructing a road of 40-foot wide, curb to curb, which is consistent with what you would require today.
Okay.
the thing that you're missing really would be sidewalks. That's why people go to 60 feet.
And you would think that people aren't going to walk on the sidewalks to get to work?
We don't have the ability to construct sidewalks. There just isn't enough space.
Okay, so people would, if they worked in your building, they would be walking on the road.
They'd be driving to our building.
You hope so. Okay, well, it's too bad about the sidewalks, but I generally support this because I'd like to see this building completed. I'd like to see them have convenient access and get it leased. So I do support this, and I wish your clients well.
Thank
Thank
you. Appreciate your support.
Anybody
you.
else wishing to speak, please use the raise your hand icon. And Madam Chair,
All
I
right.
don't believe I have anybody else.
Did we lose Marty? Marty, are you there?
I do not see Marty.
Okay. So is there a motion?
1, 2, 3.
Motion to approve standard conditions. We need 4 votes though, don't we?
Oh, site plan
This
review.
is interesting because the site plan review is already approved, which does require 4 votes. This is building out the road in the public way, like you would on a subdivision.
So is the application type wrong?
I don't believe it's wrong, but gosh, I don't know what to.
We call
Since we
Marty.
lost-
Yeah, who has Marty's number? I had it. I don't think I meant to save it. I don't know.
Here he comes.
Oh,
Oh,
here
we
she
got her
comes.
back.
Oh,
He's
good.
back.
Okay.
Motion to
All right.
approve
thank
with standard
goodness.
conditions.
Second,
All right. Roll call. Larry Hassan,
yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crowley, you're on mute. Unmute. No. Thumbs up for a yes, thumbs down for a no. That's a thumbs up for a yes, noted. Tony Gonzalez, yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
You do have one waiver as well.
Oh, that's
Oh, I
right.
apologize.
For
That's
the
right.
curbing.
So the waiver allows for 5 instead of 6. Is that 5-inch instead of 6
Yeah,
inch?
so it's 5-inch wide from the top that
Okay.
you would look down vertically and you still have a normal 6-inch reveal above the pavement.
All right, is there a motion? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve waiver on the curbing.
from-
Second.
Okay, roll call, Larry Hassan. No, where'd Larry go?
Yes.
Okay, James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Signature Healthcare for Brockton Hospital. J.K. Holmgren, Engineering.
I'm moving Scott over now. Is there anybody else with the hospital? If so, please raise your hand if you're part of their team. There, I see one more. And Jordan and company should be heading over now.
All right. Thank you again, Madam Chair, planning board members. Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, representing Signature Health and Peregrine Group, who is on with us at this meeting with Jordan Stone's the spokesman there. What we have before you tonight, folks, is a site plan for a couple of buildings to be constructed at the rear of the hospital at 680 Center Street, way back on the Quincy Ave side. I'm going to try to share my screen again, Madam Chair, if that's okay.
Absolutely. although I tease you, Scott, I can't get my screen to share when I'm hosting.
Does anybody see that?
No.
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 Of course not. All right.
Aha.
There you go.
Oh.
Now we see your
Yeah.
folders, your files.
So I'm looking, the one that says clouded drain change 515. I'm gonna double click on that. I'm looking at it, and I know you guys aren't by the look on your face, Madam Chair.
Right. We just still see your file.
It's a good looking plan. I wish you could see it.
Okay.
You know, I honestly don't know why it does this. I mean, I don't know.
Scott, do you want me to try to share my screen?
If you could, Jordan, make me look bad. I sent it to Jordan after my first failure this morning and said, just because they'll leave me sweating for a couple minutes, and then even Evan will try it, or you could try it. So I'm going to stop sharing and go over to Jordan.
Yep. All right, give me 1 sec.
So just while Jordan's doing that, folks, so again, as part of the construction out there, a signature and the hopeful quick reopening, really the first phase is 3 buildings behind the building, behind the existing hospital out towards Quincy Ave, to house some, oh, there we go. Perfect. To house some, the electrical rooms, electrical room, fire room, and generators. I believe that was one of the issues with the fire early this year. So now the proposal is to get them outside of the hospital, up against the building, but out in their own room. So this will take care of it, and it's a needed approval to get construction going so they can get moving on reopening the hospital, as obviously everybody wants. The area out there on Quincy Street, it's really their kind of their mechanical area. There's a lot of moving parts back there. They've got loading docks and dumpsters, and there really isn't any access at all to the general public back there off of Quincy Ave. But having said that, the area that we're proposing, the 3 buildings, it's a parking area right now. So we're dropping these 3 buildings right on top of a parking area. So we're really not losing all that much green space. And we are proposing a little bit of a lawn area off to the side at the end of the existing parking area, but still to fall in compliance with stormwater guidelines that are kind of newly enacted in the city. We do have proposed a 10 by 40 chamber system to handle the roof runoff for these proposed buildings that would overflow into the drainage system out on Quincy Ave. So we feel like that drainage system, along with the lawn area that we're proposing, will certainly mitigate any increased runoff from these 3 buildings, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Scott. I don't have any questions.
Madam
Board
Chair.
members? Yes, Mr. May?
I just wanted to say that Mayor Sullivan has made this a top priority. It's probably the top priority right now.
Yeah,
to get this hospital open, and it is all hands on deck within City Hall to get this up and operating. We have been working very closely with the applicant to expedite this process, and we're happy that they're here now and ready to move forward, and we hope that you will support this.
I totally agree and understand. I have no questions. The board members, do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Anyone from the public?
If anyone from the public would like to speak, please use the raise your hand icon, and we will open up your mic.
Recording in progress.
And I do not see anyone with a raise their hand icon.
All right, is there a motion?
Motion to approve with standard conditions.
Second.
Roll call. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crawley,
Marty, you'll have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
or thumbs up for yes.
Yes.
Okay, Tony Gonzalez, yes. All right, thank you, Scott. Have a good
Thank-
evening.
Thank you, folks. Thanks for the help.
Unless
Thank you
you're
very
up
much.
again next, you're.
I am
up-
unfortunately up again, Madam
You're
Chair.
Not going anywhere, are you, Scott?
No, no,
Okay.
you're gonna put me
All right.
through one more.
Okay, we have 1315 Main Street up for a site plan approval. And Scott is representing.
All right, thank you again, Madam Chair. Scott Farrier, Holmgren Engineering. I believe I have Attorney McCluskey with me. Rob, if you could let him in.
He moved. I am bringing him on, and I am also bringing on Oster Cruz.
Wonderful.
And is there anybody else on your team?
I believe that's it, Mr. May.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So folks, again, Scott Farrier, Holmgren Engineering, representing the folks at Teen Challenge. Maybe I'll just start and let Attorney McCluskey go, I think, Madam Chair. Just to give an overview of what we're looking for since he's ready to go.
Good evening.
Are you waiting for me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, man, I thought Scott was gonna take the lead.
I can certainly start if you'd like, John.
Oh,
Just,
just in an overview, we're seeking site plan approval for a couple of different things going on at the site. And my involvement over the past year or so has been meetings with the mayor and city solicitor, Megan Bridges with Scott and neighbors and Councilor Castro. And the general consensus from city and from the mayor's office is that this project needs to get moving forward and be approved. From my perspective, I'm going to let Scott speak to a lot of the engineering matters. I would particularly like to address, when the time comes, the question of the drainage toward the rear, which would be the southwest section of the property, and easement. Actually, we own the fee in the way going down across several properties out to Green Street, and some of the complaints that have been raised by the neighbors, some comments by Chike, which we totally disagree with, and then we've had an independent engineer engaged by the city to support our position. So, Scott, I think that perhaps it would be best if at this point you pointed out several of the items that we're looking for. Sure. And when the time comes, I would like to speak to the issues in controversy. And I think I've spent several days out at this site in the middle of the winter in storms. So I forget who the lady was from Channel 4 back in the day who would be out in the hurricanes taking video of the storm going on, but that's me in this case. So with that, Scott, if you could jump into what we're looking at with particular reference to the construction issues.
Thank you, John. So, Madam Chair, we've again the whole Teen Challenge campus. We've been before you folks, for probably the last 10 years, anyways, with various construction projects. Right now, our proposal is to rebuild an existing home on the Teen Challenge property that sits on Clifton Ave. It's fallen in a little bit of disrepair. It's an older home. They have a wet basement. The basement floor, the cellar floor is too low. They can't keep it dry. It's causing some structural issues with the foundation. So at this point, after some consulting work that they've had done, they feel like the best situation would be to tear the house down and rebuild They're rebuilding the exact same footprint, the exact same location. And again, that's on Clifton Ave, almost directly across the street from the CVS entrance. So that's part one of our proposal. Part two of our proposal is a 16 by 40 shed addition to a garage at the back of 1305 Main Street. As part of their program at Teen Challenge, they do a lot of hands-on work and hands-on learning, and they need additional storage space for tools. So that's what this 16 by 40 shed addition is proposed to be. Now, when we filed this site plan, actually back almost 2 years ago now, it's coming up on 2 years pretty quickly now. It was brought up at tech review, and rightfully so, that there was some discrepancies between the very last approved plan, Madam Chair, that proposed and built the 3-story office building on Teen Challenge's property. There was some landscaped areas and some parking issues that weren't constructed according to plan. So that necessitated kind of the redesign of the property. We've been before the Zoning Board of Appeals. There's a set number of spaces that we need to have. There's also a set percentage of open space that we need to have. So it was really a juggling act to propose some green space and propose enough parking plans and still make the fire department and Deputy Chief Williams happy with fire truck access in and out of the site. And I believe we've done that now. When we started that process, it was brought to our attention that the neighbor at 32 Green Place had some concerns with a landscape wall that was constructed between her property at 32 Green Place and our parking lot at the newest 3-story office building. We've gone round and round, have done a whole bunch of survey work out there to check the elevations to make sure that we're not shedding any water on Miss Stevens' property, that we're not causing any issues over there. We've gone back and forth again at tech review with the city engineer. As Attorney McCluskey alluded to, we basically got to the point, Madam Chair, maybe 6 months ago, where we just felt like we were at an impasse. We felt like what was out there now was not causing any problems to anybody out there at all, that the proposed drainage systems that had been approved by the planning board and constructed in accordance with that approval in both 2015 and 2016, we felt like those drainage systems were working as designed and approved, working properly, and there were no adverse impacts from our site onto the abutting property. The city engineer disagreed. We agreed to hire a third party, to hire Beta Group, who does all of the city's, or most of the city's consulting work on larger projects, on all conservation filings. We agreed to have them look at the property. And one of their engineers, who again does most of the work here in Brockton, Gary James, visited the site on a couple of occasions during a heavy rainstorm on Christmas Eve at noontime when it was about 10 degrees. I met him out there, and his feeling was that there are no adverse impacts from our property onto that abutting property. And in fact, he wrote a letter as part of his consulting agreement with the city. He wrote a letter that was submitted to the city that in fact said that. The only change he wanted us to make was to put what you'd call a French drain or an under drain behind our building on Mr. Testa's property, just to make sure his property could properly drain onto our property, which we've agreed to do. But again, the most important part of my whole long story is that the Beta Group's engineer agreed that there were no changes that needed to be made to our parking lot, the landscape wall, or anything at all that was out there. We again brought that before tech review late January, early February, Madam Chair. I believe you were at that meeting. And again, even with that letter in hand from the Beta Group, we still couldn't come to an agreement with the city engineer. At that point, Attorney McCluskey, voiced our opinion that we've spent our entire career working with consultants and kind of agreeing that what the consultant says is what we have to live with as developers and engineers and attorneys. And, that they work as an arm of the approving authority, in this case, the planning board. And if they ask us to to paint a parking spot, we paint the parking spot. And in this case, they told us that they agree with what we've done. And we feel like we're justified in now proceeding with this site plan approval and bringing it before you folks. Again, it has nothing to do with that area that I just spoke about for probably too long. It's the home construction on Clifton in a shed addition on Main Street. And again, because of the commercial use, those two proposals require site plan approval, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Scott. I was at that meeting, well versed on this site plan review. I don't have, well, actually I do. Was the wall that was built, was that supposed to be a fence so that water could drain freely?
It was supposed to be a fence just as a screening measure, Madam Chair. It really had nothing to do with the drainage. It was just there to be screened. The the whole design was because it's a 3-story building. We're fairly close to that residential home on 32 Green Place. So the reason the proposal was for a 6-foot high chain link fence with some plantings to screen her property from our 3-story building. The concrete block wall that's there now is higher than a chain link fence would have been. And in fact, it has wooden slats on top of it. So it's probably about a 10-foot high visual buffer now, as opposed to a 6-foot high chain link fence. So acting as a visual buffer and a visual screen, it's doing a better job than what was proposed. But it did, in all honesty, the approved plan did say proposed chain link fence for screening purposes. It certainly did.
I think at one point, the building commissioner also agreed, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, that the wall that was built, the concrete block wall, was totally acceptable.
He considered it to be a fence and not a structure.
Exactly. And also, if we get into it, we're happy to look at the video that I've taken, a couple of videos that I've taken over some major storms. That fence, concrete block fence, has absolutely no impact on how the drainage is working on both sides. Absolutely none.
Okay. Questions from other board members?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Open to public comment.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to comment, please use the raise your hand icon so that we know that you would like to speak. And I have Patrick. You should be able to unmute your microphone now.
Yes, I did. My name is Patrick Colleen. I'm an attorney. I represent Ms. Stevens, and she's having problems with the flow of the water. According to the city engineer, the wall was put at the lowest point, and it's impeding the flow of the water. The water is flowing onto her property, the stormwater, and they teen challenge. And the wall wasn't part of the plan in 2017. It was just put there. This board never got a chance to determine whether that wall would cause these problems to a neighbor. And also, the soil was added to her property. Teen Challenge came onto her property without her permission, without this board's permission, and put in fill and raised up the level of the grade on her property so that there was more of a problem draining. And the city engineer said seasonal high groundwater this area has been altered for 2 reasons. One is the modular wall that was installed forcing retainage of runoff in the vicinity of the wall. The second is the infiltration system is not far off that has caused its own water mounding. So what my client would like to see is, if this project goes forward, is that wall be removed and that her property be restored to the grade that it was before the 2017 work was done, and be restored to what it should have been when the plan was approved.
May I comment, Madam Chairman?
Yes.
So first of all, Attorney Culhane, based upon your comments, it seems to me that you probably have never been at the property and have no idea what you're talking about as to the drainage. So
Let's
the
keep
wall,
this
and I'm not looking for your comments yet. I'm not done. I waited for you to finish.
I did not say
No,
anything.
that was Rob.
So
saying let's
first
be
of all,
civil.
coming onto this lady's property without permission is total baloney. We had total permission. She viewed that she was there. She lives right there. She had total control over the property, and that comment is quite disingenuous. Secondly, the wall, if you've been out there in a storm, and if you haven't, you're doing us a disservice in making those comments. So if you've been out to the property during a storm, you can see that the wall has absolutely no impact, and the new grading has a total positive impact upon what happens at that property. There is absolutely, if you look at the plans, the old plans and the new plans, the old plans fall, the elevations fall negatively towards your client's property, towards your client's home. Under the new plans, the elevations fall away from the home and out to the driveway area. And if you look at the video that we may be showing you shortly, you'll see that the only water infiltration is coming out of her basement on a sporadic period of time, much like the one that my brother, Mr. Faria, mentioned over in Clifton. Your client's property is built down into the water table. That's where she's getting her water. And her water excretion from that property is minimal at best. So, and by the way, Teen Challenge has been a very good neighbor to your client. It's been said over the past couple of years that we shouldn't be using the right of our property to exit the property towards the rear, towards Green Street. And it may be that we'll change our tune as far as that, and we won't need to use that property anymore, which means we won't be plowing the property, we won't be maintaining the property, and we'll leave it up to your client to take care of all that business. But over the years, we've been plowing that property, have been a very good neighbor to your client, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself for coming up with these last minute comments. I've never heard from you before. You should have.
Mr. McCluskey, please address the board. Don't address Mr. Culhane.
Okay.
Okay, and let's
You can see that, we've been working with the mayor, with the city solicitor's office. And at our last meeting before the tech review, it was very clear that what Rob May did, and he did an excellent presentation. He showed how the old plan showed the drainage going towards your client's home, and the new plan with the new elevations show the drainage going away from your home. So what our position is that what you've just told the board is nonsense, and that we shouldn't be removing this wall, and that the water is flowing perfectly fine. And Evan, if the chairman would like to entertain a video of a major storm during the winter, we'd be happy to take a look at it right now.
Could I just respond to that?
Yes, so then I'll ask you something, Mr. Culhane. Thank you.
I believe Art Cabral of Cohesive Engineering, who submitted a report for this meeting, is in. I was wondering if Art could come in and comment on the situation.
Sure. Was he moved to a panelist?
He's on his way over now.
Thank you, Evan.
Hey, am I unmuted?
Yes,
you are.
we can hear you, Mr. Cabral. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. Ms. Stevens had hired me to take a look and do a plan review, to take a look at what was going on out on the site. I did go out there both before, during, and after some storms, and sometimes I didn't see too much. Sometimes I saw a fair amount of water that was puddling up and collecting on her side yard. I've heard a couple of times the statement that the water used to run onto her property and now it, and that was somehow stopped by this. But when I did the plan review, I noted that in the same set that the planning board approved, the existing conditions plan show all the water from that area running across the Stevens property and either into the Teen Challenge property or around the side yard and out onto the easement and away at a relatively steep slope as it went across towards the front on the easement. When this work was done, they did not build this to the approved plan. And one of the things they did is they pushed one of their contours further out to her property line, flattening out the slope on her side. Down at the corner where the parking lot comes out at the, well, I guess there's a gate or was a gate at the easement, they raised that by a significant amount as well. And it showed on the as-built grading plan compared to the approved site plan. Then, because I think as they were doing that work, she was seeing a problem. My understanding is they decided to try to help by regrading on her side yard. But what they essentially did was flatten out that yard from the back down to the easement. And the regrading they did on the back of by the parking spaces essentially cut off the water that used to go that way. So the water now is coming through, isn't going where it was, and it's taking longer to get out off of her property, meaning she's getting more water in her basement. Now she showed me information she had. I do not have like direct timing information that I was able to come up with on her sump pump to see how much more water. But there definitely has been changes to the grading based on the plans, as-built grading plans done by J.K. Holmgren that show it was not done per the approved plan. And the changes that were made do make it more of an issue for water on her site. There was also other issues done up on the, Testa property that also appeared to take water that was going in the general direction of Main Street and running it towards the easement as well. So
I have a comment. Oh, God, sorry.
Does Mr. Cabral have a report?
I submitted that report to Ms. Stevens several months ago, and I believe she submitted it for the planning board meeting.
We haven't seen it.
The planning board has been given a copy of the plan, of the report.
Which makes this situation even more complicated for the board. I don't mean to speak for other board members, I'm speaking for myself. We have the city engineer with his take disagreeing with Beta, and now we have another engineer siding with the city engineer. And I had asked for the opportunity to consult with legal, and the board was not given this opportunity.
Legal
I
has nothing to do with
don't
it.
want to delay this at all. I feel like you've been, doing your best to try to work with the neighbor. I thought that the neighbor was, Mr. Cohen, I thought that the neighbor was willing to work with the applicant.
She is.
So what is it that what would make her happy? Because maybe if we could just
She
work
wants to-
together, we don't
she
have
wants-
to prolong this.
I'm sorry. She wants the wall removed and she wants the grade restored to where it was before 2017.
Can I comment real quick?
My comment is we're not gonna do that.
1 second, please. Let me chair this meeting. So the wall removed and the grading restored to previous condition. What year was that?
2017.
Well, how do we know what it was in 2017 exactly?
Can I comment when there's an opportunity?
Yes, give me a second, Mr. Cruz. Is this wall being removed in some grading, something that the applicant will consider so that we can keep peace with the neighbor and also make the applicant and the neighbor happy?
I got a couple quick
And
comments.
I would respectfully request that Evan show us the video that I took in a heavy rainstorm as to where this water is going. Because all these reports and these engineers, it's nonsense, absolute nonsense. Chike's report is nonsense. This Mr. Cabral's comments are nonsense. The water is flowing perfectly fine, and the video will show you exactly how the water is flowing. And in fact, what's happening now is that the neighbor is discharging her water onto my client's property, and we will seek the court's intervention on that and have that stopped.
Okay, so before I let Mr. Cruz speak, is there any opportunity to work with the neighbor as far as the wall issue and the grading? And I saw the video, but I don't think other board members did, so it might.
Trying to work with this neighbor for years. We've spent lots and lots of money trying to accommodate her needs, accommodate her requests. We've been taking care of the property. And incidentally, the water that's pooling on her property is simply because she doesn't take care of her property. And there's some ruts that are on the property that she hasn't filled and taken care of.
All right, you didn't exactly answer my question, but Mr. Cruz, who do you represent?
I represent Teen Challenge.
I represent him.
Okay, all right. What would you like to say, Mr. Cruz?
Just a couple comments. The grading that has been brought up a couple different times was actually, we paid to have the yard graded, but at Veronica's discretion. We had her, whatever grade she wanted, we paid for it. And then it got to a point where, there was a second time that we had talked and she felt like they needed more fill. I went ahead and we, Teen Challenge, purchased a truckload of loom and we dropped it off, and her son was the one that spread the fill on her property. And so the grading was done 100% with her permission and 100% by her son. So that's the first thing. And to Mr. McCluskey's point is, I have a lot of video. I've been out there and I take videos, and I've been taking pictures. And the water, there's not a stormwater issue. There's puddling by her driveway, but it is completely water that's coming out of her basement, and it comes out and it pools, but not just her basement, but it's also, I don't remember the address. It's on Green Place. Her front neighbor has their sump pump pumping out water in that same corner. So you got two different water sources that are causing this puddling there. And actually the puddlings on our water, I'd even take it a step further. It would actually go through our driveway and onto Mr. Carchiti's property, but there is so much weeds, there's so much, it just needs someone to clean it, and the water would go through. But it's not a stormwater issue. The other thing too is the wall. We hired Beta, as Scott mentioned, we hired a third party, consultant to come in, review the plans. This is Beta that does, from my understanding.
We know, and I just want to avoid redundant. We know that Beta was hired and
so I guess to remove the wall, we have it on in a report that's not the issue. There is no issue there. And so that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that, why would we remove a wall there is no issue?
Well,
And the grading
well,
was done with
you know
Veronica's.
what my response to that would be is that you or whoever prior to you, that wall was not supposed to be put there in the original plan. It was, and it should be fixed. Because if we pass this board here passes this, we're now approving all of the inappropriate or inaccurate work that was done prior to. And so again, I'm going to ask, because I didn't get a direct answer, is the applicant willing to remediate the wall issue and some grading that the neighbor wants? And that will also help fix the blatant non-compliance with the original approval.
I would, first of all, strongly disagree with your comment that it's a blatant non-compliance. The building inspector, which you're totally ignoring, has said that it is in compliance. So there you have someone on your side, so to speak, saying that what they did is absolutely fine. And then what everybody's ignoring is the fact that nobody wants to see the video of how this water flows. Because what
No, I'm not ignoring that,
Mr.
but
says and what Mr. Cabral says is nonsense.
okay. During that tech review meeting I was at, everybody acknowledged that the prior plan was in non-compliance of what was approved.
So why don't we do the right thing? And I believe Rob May, although I don't speak for him, believes that well, I'm not going to go there.
Including the director of the DPW validated that the construction was in non-compliance of what was approved.
Situation that you could have that what we've done as a neighbor to this neighbor is absolutely perfect. She asked for the work to be done. Now she's got counsel here saying that she's asked for it to be removed. So we may have to have our differences litigated with the neighbor as to her discharge of water onto the property and her disingenuous requests now seeking to be removed. We may have to resolve that in a separate forum. But I think what you have, if you take a look at the video, I think what you have, it's an end of story, done deal, and it's a perfect solution for this situation.
All right. Evan, do you have the video, please? And just
I can, yes, give me 1 second.
not too long of it, just what we need to see. I've seen it, but it would be helpful for the public and the other board members to view as well.
All right, it's about 2.5 minutes. I'll start it. Just let me know when you want me to stop it.
Thank you, Evan.
Okay.
So you want to narrate, Mr. McCluskey?
So that's the wall. And as you can see, there's no water by the wall. It's all going into the drain, which is on the Teen Challenge property, all draining properly. It was a horrible day that day. This is the Teen Challenge parking lot. This is the this is the drain that's closest to the driveway going out to the back. So you can see most of the water, if not all, is draining into those drainage areas. Now we've got some water that has historically gone that way down the driveway. And as you'll see, it's going away from Victoria's property.
Where is her property? Which is
right. She is to the right.
To the right. And so that is clearly a road that I see going down.
Yeah, so this is dry right here. This is her drainage pipe from her basement, nothing coming out of it. Now we're going to take a walk back into the yard of Victoria's yard. This is the wall to the right that's a big problem. And there's no puddling, there's no issues, there are no problems going on here. It's going to swing back and go along the side of her home. You're going to see back here, there's no issues. There's no puddling. There's nothing going on. Now we swing around to her home and she's got that nice snow up along her property that if it was drenched with rain, that snow would be gone. There's no water going near her property. The drainage is perfectly fine. There's no puddling. Now we go back onto the roadway. We're going to go down to the right towards Green Place, and you'll see right there, the water is on the opposite side of our property. It's our driveway. We own that. And when you go down here, this puddling that they talk about, which you'll see here in a minute, to the right, is a property owner not taking care of their property. That's not our problem. That's coming from her. That's coming from her side of the property. That's not our problem. And it goes along to the left, off the property to the, I believe that's a Carchidi property.
Correct.
And, you know, so for anybody to say that that wall is creating a problem, they haven't either been to the property, have no idea what they're talking about.
Okay. All right, thank you. Board members, any other questions? Nope.
I do have members of the public who would like to speak.
Okay.
If you are ready for that.
I have my hand up, I think.
Oh, thank you, Art. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Just to the point of the video, at least in my comments, I'm not saying water is coming off the Teen Challenge property, going through the wall and onto the Stevens property. What I'm saying is that the grading changes in conjunction with that wall have changed the way the water that falls onto her property moves. It's no longer moving across that backyard, across through the side, and across to the front at a relatively steep slope. That was the existing conditions from before they developed that building showed was on her lot. When I was out there a couple of the times, the puddling was actually in the area where, as the video went up towards the backyard alongside the wall, most of the puddling that I saw was actually a few feet in from the wall in that section out alongside the building. The reason that there is a pipe from her sump pump pumping out to the easement is because the fill that was placed in that side yard cut off her sump pump discharge. So it could, if it stayed where it was, it would have been just pumping into the ground. So they had to extend that pipe. That's why that pipe is down at the easement. That's not where it was before the project started.
You can tell that pipe has been there for years. Come on.
No.
Madam Chairwoman,
could you
I've
stop?
seen the pictures that show that it wasn't. Ms. Stevens had produced quite a few photos of what was at that property, and you can see how high the soil has been raised along both her foundation and around that tree in the front of the house. It's been significantly changed. It's flattened it off so you don't get the level of runoff that you might have gotten in the past. And that's.
Oops.
Madam Chairwoman, could I ask a question?
Yes.
I noticed that City Councilor DeCastro is on this Zoom, and I'm assuming that this is her ward. Wouldn't it be? I'd like to hear what she has to say about this all.
Yeah, Rob's getting through the public comment, and then if her hand is up, she'll speak.
Okay,
So,
if
other
we're ready for public comment, I will bring on Councilor Nicastro. And of course, anybody else who is interested in speaking on this topic, please use the raise your hand icon. And as soon as Councilor Nicastro is finished, we will let you address the board. Councilor, the floor is yours.
Is it my turn?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I got kicked out and I got a little confused there. Well, planning board, I've been to nearly all of the meetings other than the day that I had a funeral. And I have to say, this all started because Ms. Stevens was getting water in her basement and on her property that she never got before. And she's very good at doing research. She knew that the blocks, the white blocks that you just saw in that lovely video, were not what was supposed to happen. She tried hard to work with Teen Challenge. There's a reason Teen Challenge put those blocks up, and there's a reason they don't want to take them down. Draw your own conclusions. I've made my own, but I'm a lawyer. And
What is yours? Please share yours, because I don't have.
I think they had to add a lot more fill to their property than they were originally planning to, and I don't think they can take those blocks down for fear that all the fill will come down in the building too. That is my suspicion. Again, I don't play an engineer on television. I don't pretend to be one. I'm a lawyer and a city councilor, but that is my suspicion. Okay. She wanted two things. She wanted them to stop the water from flowing into her house and on her property, and she wanted them to put back, there was a gate up separating where her property is on the driveway from Teen Challenges. But Teen Challenge has decided to run a catering business, and they feel they're protected by the Dover Amendment to do so. And so they want to keep that driveway open so they can use it as their second means of egress. And they're keeping it open all the time.
City councilor that's off.
It's my turn, John.
Please
It's my
let
turn, John.
the counselor speak.
It's my turn. Thank you, John. My old friend, John. Anyway, they're using it as a second means of egress for their catering and their function hall business. And that's why they want to leave it open. It's a driveway. They repaved it not too long ago. And I don't know that it's not pitched over toward the Carchides land, which is rather wet. I don't know that for a fact, but you just saw the video. You saw the water traveling over that way. It wouldn't surprise me. I'd really like to see a deal made here. This problem with the deficiencies in complying with the plan for the dormitory building. It's the nicest dormitory I've ever seen in my life. Somehow it got attached to the building on Clifton Street, even though all these parcels are separate, they do share parking. I just don't see how you can weigh in on the Clifton Street one. You haven't even entertained any of it, and there's deficiencies with that plan too, I understand, without dealing with what they didn't do right in 2017. I just don't see how you possibly can. Ms. Stevens is my resident. She's my constituent. She's worked very hard. She's really gone out on a limb to employ both an engineer and a lawyer. That's how much this means to her. Attorney McCluskey may not think much of the condition of her house, but that's her home. That's her family's home. And we need to respect that, as well as we need to respect the attorney and the engineer that she's hired to be here this evening. That's all I'll say for now, but I reserve the right to say more. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, other public comment?
Veronica, you had your hand up for a moment. Would you like to address? There we go. She's coming over now.
We can see you now, Senator Castro.
For the record, I said nothing about this lady's house. I have no opinion about her house. And that was sort of a low blow.
You did, John. You said that it's unkept. I heard you. I took notes on it.
I said that the puddling.
Can we not have back and
was
forth?
as a
And
result of not taking care of her property.
Well, play the tape back, John. That's not what you said. Respectfully.
Is Vanessa ready?
Veronica, she popped in and
Veronica.
out. I'm going to move her back to panelist. There, she should be moving over now. Ms. Stevens, the floor is yours.
You're on mute.
Okay.
There you
Am
go.
I audible?
We
Yes,
can hear
ma'am.
you.
First, I'd like to thank the entire city, planning and Sue and, the engineering group. I have indeed worked very hard to try and cooperate with Teen Challenge, who we respect their endeavors with drug and alcohol rehabilitation. But when I first met Oscar Cruz at the bottom of my driveway, I didn't know who he was until he introduced himself. He told me he was building a house next to mine. And I asked him how big it'd be. He said about the size of mine. So I took him at his word. I took him literally by faith, and prayed with him that his project would save many lives. Indeed, I allowed them to do whatever was necessary to make their build work, and knowing that they were trying to handle the water issues, that whatever they did, and I have plenty of video of their trucks and their excavators leveling my property. And when I continued to have water issues, he's right. He dumped a whole load of loam over the wall and told my son to spread it out himself, which my son did his best. The sump pump, which I provided the planning board with photos of, used to pump straight out of my basement, the side of the house, headed east to the chain link fence between my place and Teen Challenge Field. It was the contractors that bent my pipe to turn it towards the easement. It was Oscar who came over in shin deep mud while my tree nearly drowned. And I have an extensive tree, 18 feet around the trunk, more than 72 feet tall. And he helped put a pipe on that bent easement, on that bent sump pump, to get it further across my front yard. And when that didn't work, he got another pipe and it got extended onto the easement. So if Attorney McCluskey wants to sue me for discharging my sump pump onto their property, he better talk to Oscar first. Now, I want my property restored. I want peace in my life. I want the chain link fence that was supposed to be there. And I want peace for this neighborhood. The wall that they built illegally is not only causing me problems directly next to me, but the wall goes across both Clifton, 40 Clifton and 2830 Clifton, Mr. Testa's property. And they built that wall on the neighbor's property without their consent. And Mr. Testa's letter of easement does not include the wall being built on his property. And it specifically says a swale. And it was signed in June, which means he doesn't know that they've changed the plan to a French drain, which also won't work if they don't regrade the property. So in order to allow the historical migration of water to pass across Teen Challenge's property, both walls must be removed. The grade needs to be regraded so that the water can get onto the Teen Challenge property. And that is the reason I think they built the walls, because their storm system won't handle it. Now, I am no engineer. I'm not a stormwater management. I did ask Mr. Odanukwa to be here, as well as the engineer I hired, which I hired back in September, to confirm that what Mr. Odanukwa was telling me was true. And when I got my report and it was consistent with the city, I didn't even bring it forward. I did not bring it forward to the city until the planning board meeting. And when Beta's report came in saying I didn't have a problem. And I have hours of footage if the planning board would like to see it. I have tried to spare all of you the viewing of video, but I also got video of the water being dumped and the trucks dumping the soil on my property to level it out. Now, that was all done because of the variance that Teen Challenge was issued. That said on number 4 that they would handle all the water issues. And I thought that's what they were doing. But it wasn't until June of 2022, when I got access to the city records, that I found out that the wall itself wasn't even on the plan. And that's when I met with the mayor that week. And that wall is a retaining wall. It goes, you looked at the photo, the report I sent in with the timeline, you see my son standing at that wall before they leveled my property. And you can see the amount of leveling they brought in to get my son level. That level now, the gravel is all under dirt because they've leveled it. I hope that the planning board has had an opportunity to look at my letter, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak now. But I want restoration. I want it to be the way it should have been. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Quite honestly, I hate to keep delaying this, and I see the department's recommendations. But I still feel like the board needs the opportunity to consult with legal, especially now that there's another engineering company that has come in. Our city engineer disagrees with Beta. Beta was hired by the applicant, and their report is their report. It's just a lot, and this was originally because the contractor did not comply with the original plan that was approved. This has put us in a peculiar situation. And I think that, and board members, please speak up if you disagree with me, but I feel like this needs to be continued and the board needs the opportunity to meet with legal.
Beta was hired by the city. Beta was not hired by
Oh,
the,
my mistake, because I thought in the tech review, Scott said that you all hired Beta as as was requested.
we were forced to pay for Beta.
Okay,
But
all
the
right,
city
same
hired-
thing. So let's not split hairs.
City
We
hired
paid for
Beta,
it
as
because
it
it was
always
asked to do so. Beta came in, said there's no issues. Chike, our city engineer, says he disagrees. And now there's another engineer who agrees with Chike, and we're not engineers, the board members.
Chike's report says the house is on a slab.
And he also said that the grading and the driveway was raised and it's causing some water drainage, from what I recall from that tech review. So right now, wait, I'm sorry, Rob, before we go on, are there any other members from the community that want to speak?
I'd like to
Members
comment.
from the
when-
community, excuse me, Mr. Cruz, other members from the community?
I do have a response in the questions and answers, and I want to get to that. It says, if there's a disagreement in the reports, why wouldn't the city resolve the dispute by hiring a third engineering party? In this case, it's probably a fifth, at the cost of the property owner to resolve the dispute. Is that not what was done so that we can move on? And if Beta agrees with the city, wouldn't Teen Challenge be made to comply? If so, the answer is we have had at least one outside review from the city's house doctor. The adjacent property owner, Veronica Stevens, hired Mr. Cabral to take a look at the property. He came up with a different interpretation, and the city engineer came up with a different interpretation. So we're at quite a mess. Mr. Kachidi would like to address the group, and so I'm going to move him over.
And is he a neighbor, or who is
He is in a butter, yes. And he should be coming over now.
Hello, good evening. Just wanted to add a couple of comments, if I may. My family has been a long-standing abutter.
Could you state your name, please, for the record?
Oh, sorry, Craig Carchidi, owner of 1329 Main Street. And there's some smaller parcels that run along the concern that's being talked about tonight. And so just wanted to make a couple of comments as a long-standing abutter to both Teen Challenge and Mrs. Stevens. I consider them both fine neighbors, and we find ourselves in a difficult position I think that that position is exacerbated by not following the letter of an approved variance back in 2017. I look at the great work that Teen Challenge does and the campus that they've developed, and I respect all of what they do as part of their mission. And I see ourselves here in this discussion reaching perhaps an impasse or at least another punt to get some additional insight. And I think Madam Chair had a good olive branch out earlier to say, are there things that the two parties can reach to resolve this in a manner that allows us to move forward? And I would argue to Oscar, and Oscar, I've said this to you before, just find a way to settle this. Veronica, it's a situation where we know that between where your home is, between where the back end of my property is, it's been long said by the city, during significant storms, it's the lowest part of the area. They would always tell us when the Kmart parking lot floods, that area is going to flood. And so I think extensive work has been done by Teen Challenge to mitigate the runoffs. And maybe it wasn't to the letter of what was agreed to in the variance of 2017. And I'm not an attorney, so I don't understand the sticky wicket that may be. But I'd also say to Teen Challenge, try and find a way to settle this. Maybe it's not everything that Veronica wants, but maybe it's not just let's litigate the sump pump because it's trickling out back onto the Teen Challenge land. Quite frankly, all of that water ends up on my land and then drains into the river on the opposite side of Brookside Avenue. Okay, so I would just encourage my two neighbors to try and find a resolution to this thing so everybody can move on in harmony. And whoever made the comment about weeds or something on my end, if anybody's been down there, you know, we take care of our property meticulously. If there's a weed issue, it's a vacant lot, right? So call it out. But over the years, we've spent extensive money putting in riprap, stone to try and allow the drainage to happen better. But we won't be a source of the problem. We'll be part of a solution. But there are much bigger issues at play here other than me getting a landscaper down there to do a little bit of cleaning. So I'd ask you both, Veronica, Oscar, please do what you can to try and settle this. Because, you know, Veronica, you absolutely and your family deserve that peace. And Oscar, you and your team should carry on the great work that you do.
Well said. Thank you, Mr. Crocchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Crocchetti.
Thank you.
Is anybody else still looking to speak? I thought there was a Mr. Manzo. Anybody wishing to speak, please raise your hand. And at the moment, I don't have anybody with their hand raised, so I would like to take a moment to pontificate, if I may. I want to say that it is absolutely true that Teen Challenge did not build the plan that was presented to and approved by the planning board. Period. We have a report, though, from Beta that said, we have a report from Beta that says that the work that was done without being on a plan is not causing the problem. We also have a situation where Teen Challenge and Ms. Stevens had been at one time collaborating, which is how the fill got on the property and the elevations of the site change. And that was done without a professional engineer to supervise the topography of the site. With that said, the planning board under site plan review, and it's not site plan approval, it's site plan review, is charged with trying to make a project better but is not in a position to deny the development of a project. If there are building code violations, or if there is a retaining wall on the site, that is for the building department to enforce. Likewise, Chike is responsible for the stormwater ordinance. But the city has no authority over groundwater. And so there's a couple of things at play that we can't control. I would hope that the two parties could find a way of working together. I don't know if that's going to be if the planning board approves the plan for the wall, which is not a retaining wall, but is a retaining walls start at 4 feet, according to Mass Code. I have to be holding back 4 feet of earth to be a retaining wall. This is maybe 6 at the most inches. If they were to work with Ms. Stevens to regrade her property, that might be a solution. And each person gets one of their wish list. But I don't know how we King Solomon and split the baby on this to make it work. I'm done. Sorry.
Oh, that was good. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
One final go at this. And I'm gonna ask Veronica, besides taking down that wall, would regrading your property, if the applicant was willing to do so, be something to satisfy you?
Unfortunately, just regrading doesn't allow my water any avenue to go to.
What would, in your opinion or your engineer's opinion, what would?
You'd have to speak to my engineer.
I'm sorry, I thought maybe he consulted with you and advised you since he's your engineer.
He's there. What I was told was until Team Challenge rectifies the construction, my water has no place to go. And legally, as Mr. McCluskey just stated, I can't jettison my water onto other people's property willy-nilly. The water that used to come to my property historically went to the Team Challenge field. They have effectively built me into a moat. I've got the easement in front of me that's higher than my yard, and the wall beside me that's higher than my ground. And whether it's 6 inches or 18 inches, the water can't get over it. And the one avenue that they gave us that had some plausibility was to put in catch basins, would take out the wall and put in catch basins, but they weren't willing to put in catch basins that would be pumped into their system. They wanted to leave them as running pipes that would have created my property as their emergency overflow, because they didn't install an emergency overflow in their new storm system. They had one in the prior storm system that they put in, but then they fed that emergency flow into the one that they just built in front of the 1311 Main Street.
Okay, so I'm hearing the wall is your major issue, and I'm not an engineer. I'm just trying to get this plan hopefully approved for Teen Challenge, the community, and make you happy as well. What about PVC pipes through the wall every so inches so that it's water can drain through? Is that?
If the PVC pipes were through the wall, when their system fails and the parking lot does flood, it's coming towards me because mine is the lower property.
It's coming, from what I saw, it's coming down.
No, you're talking about the easement, and I have never claimed that the water currently comes off of Teen Challenge property into mine. This is the problem is they've eliminated the stormwater runoff by flattening the properties around them, both Testa's and mine, and building a wall that prevents the water from even getting to them. The engineers can speak much more delicately and definitively about how it happens, but effectively, I have no runoff. And what Mr. McCluskey failed to point out in his own video is that that's what it proved, that there's no water running off my property onto the easement while he's standing there in the rain. The water can't get to the easement on the surface. It can only penetrate the ground. And he did pass a little puddle of water as he passed the back stairs. He didn't want to point it out. I understand it's not to his advantage. But the fact is, his video proves my point. The water cannot get off my property unless it goes through the sump pump, which is in my basement, and unless it goes through the pipe that Oscar's team cut at my basement window and redirected across 50 feet of my yard, past my tree, onto their own easement. I didn't do that. Oscar did it. He hired the engineers that filled in my front yard. It was James Gardner and Son. And you can ask him. He paid for it.
So thank you, Veronica. And I'm sorry, I'm at the point where everything's just redundant now. No one's trying to come up with a solution. We're talking in circles. Beta was hired at the request of the city, paid by the applicant. Their report is what it is. It's my opinion, board members,
Madam-
that we continue this and we are allowed to speak to legal. That's my opinion. Feel free to tell me if you disagree.
Madam Chair, it's Larry.
Yes.
May I speak? I would also, if we continue this, there has to be another discussion with our city engineer, Chike, on it too, and have maybe, I don't know, maybe have a meeting with all these parties and get this figured out, and along with whether that wall is a retaining wall or not a retaining wall, if that's part of the problem. But I'm not comfortable passing this with all the discussions going on. There's just too much going on around it that I don't know if it's a simple solution or whatever, but we need to kind of take another look at this. And I've seen this a few times, and I've seen those videos before that Mr. McCluskey has shown us. So we don't, I don't have video, I haven't seen videos that, Veronica has, and I don't think we need to see another, hour of videos, but I just think we need to continue and have a deeper look at this. I think we're close, believe it or not. It doesn't feel like it, but I think we're close.
Right.
Can I comment real quick, Madam?
We need the parties to come together with an open mind, though, because I feel like they're stuck in their own.
Can I
deviate
comment
from
real
it.
quick?
Wait a minute, please.
Hang on just a second, Mr. Cruz.
If you have something new to say, but I don't want to hear
Madam
anything else that we've already heard.
Chair, I think it might be wise to stop public testimony at this time and let the board deliberate on what it wants to do. If you choose to continue this matter, you're not closing the public comment, you're just temporarily stopping it for this period of deliberation and reflection.
And that's what I've been trying to do. I asked for comments from the board members. So thank you, Larry. Anything from you, Jim? Or
Madam Chair, I just think that continuing this would be a good idea. And maybe the parties can get together and come up with some compromise on their own. In the meantime, we can get some legal advice if it has to come to a yay or nay. But hopefully the two parties can continue the line of communication and to rectify this on their own, hopefully. But if not, at least we'll have some more legal counsel. That would be my opinion.
Thank you. Marty, anything?
No, I agree with that. What Jim and Larry just said, I agree with them.
Okay, is
We're
there
at
a
an,
motion?
we're at an impasse here and we can't straighten it out tonight.
Is there a motion to put public comment on hold and continue this?
Yeah, I
For,
make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Crowell,
Yep, yes.
Velvis, yes. All right, that is the plan, and I really asked the applicant and the neighbor, Veronica, come with open minds, try to come to an agreement that will work for both Teen Challenge, which is a wonderful program, and also, you know, give you peace, Veronica. Thank you. Lastly, Marty, I want to apologize for saying your name wrong throughout the whole meeting, but you had it up as Crowell, so, I mean Crowley, so I was reading what you wrote. Her name is Marty Crowell.
Yeah, Kroll.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, Crowell.
Don't worry, Tony, it's okay.
I might take a few meetings to get that right, so correct me
worry.
anytime. Thank you. Is
No
there
worries.
a motion to adjourn?
Madam
Motion to
Chair,
adjourn.
Thank
Before
you.
we do that,
Before we-
is there anything we need to come in and sign before we sign off tonight?
Yes, there is. We have a few plans. Yes, answer is yes.
So Dave, we need to come in and is there any time constraints
As
on
soon as
them?
possible.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Let's just try to get there.
I'll
this
be quiet
week and
now.
sign anything. Let's try to get through this week and sign what Isaiah has on the table for us. All right, I had a motion and a second, so roll call, Larry Hassan,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
Yes.
Marty Kroll,
Yes.
Tony